The body speaks first. Start here. With a breath you can actually feel. Not a dramatic inhale, just a steady count, 4 in, 6 out, until your shoulders agree to drop the distance of a sigh. Notice what happens to your attention when your breath lengthens. The edges of the room come back into view. The other person's face stops being a blur of signals to decode and becomes a human being again. Your body has shifted from defense to dialogue, and that shift is the beginning of every truly persuasive moment you will ever have. We like to think words do the work, but the body gets there first. Long before your message lands, 1,000. Tiny cues have already told your listener how to receive it. The tilt of your chin, the quiet of your hands, whether your eyes land like a spotlight or arrive like a welcome. If your nervous system is sprinting, your message will sound like a chase. If your nervous system is steady, your message will feel like a place to rest. People lean toward rest. They step back from chase. This is not mysticism. It's physiology meeting psychology. Threat assessment happening at the speed of a blink. You can test this in the simplest moments. Stand in a doorway and say the same sentence twice. First, rush it. Tight jaw, bouncing foot, words tumbling. Over each other. Then reset. Feet planted, jaw unclenched, breath even. A half-beat of silence before you speak. The sentence is identical. The impact is not. In the first version, people hear effort and defend themselves. In the second, they hear certainty and lower their guard. You didn't change the content, you changed the container. Elegance begins as subtraction. Remove one fidget. Still one restless gesture. Let your hands rest where they can be seen, unforced. When the urge to fill a silence rises, let the silence do a little work for you. The pause is not an absence, it is a frame. It tells the other person, there's room here for your thought. It turns exchange into collaboration. This is how the body says, safe, without performing reassurance. When safety appears, curiosity returns, and with curiosity, influence grows. Intention is the thread that holds the body together. Before you enter a conversation, name one quiet purpose to yourself. I'm here to connect. I'm here to learn. I'm here to offer value. The words never need to be spoken aloud, but the body organizes around them. If your hidden intention is to extract, your posture will betray you. If your intention is to serve, your posture will soften, your face will open, and your questions will come out clean. People can feel when they are being hunted. They can feel when they are being honored. Let your intention honor them, and your body will stop arguing with your message. Tempo is the unsung secret most people miss. Confidence is rarely fast. Fast is for fires and alarms. When you slow by just enough to let meaning catch up to sound, you give your listener a gift, time to think without losing you. Try it. Shave 20% off your usual speed. End the key sentence a breath earlier than you want to. Then let 2 seconds of silence pass. Those 2 seconds are where persuasion often happens, not in the noise you add, but in the space you allow. Playfulness is not decoration, it is social oxygen. We don't mean jokes for approval. We mean the lightness that says, I'm not here to wrestle you. I'm here to dance. A smile when something glitches, a curious tilt when someone disagrees, a small genuine compliment when it's earned. Play reduces perceived threat and raises engagement. Without it, pressure hardens into performance. With it, truth has a chance to step forward. Warmth does not weaken your authority. It proves you aren't afraid. Mystery is the dignity of pacing. You do not owe your life story to every moment. Offer edges, not everything. Reveal what serves. This conversation, and let questions do their work. When you hold something back, not as manipulation but as respect for timing, you create room for the other person to come closer voluntarily. People don't trust floods, they trust steady streams. Let interest grow in layers. Let discovery have a rhythm. Picture a meeting you've dreaded. Updates stacked like bricks, attention scattered, everyone pretending to listen. Instead of fighting the chaos with more volume, do less, cleaner. One sentence that names what matters most. Full stop. Look around. Let them meet the sentence. Add one human detail that gives the numbers a pulse. Then make one clear ask. When you stop chasing, the room stops running. The impact is not the drama of your delivery, it's the calm of your certainty. Or picture a sales pitch. In the frantic version, you speak in bullet trains. Features, 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 hoping one will stick. In the embodied version, you paint the afterstate in 2 sentences anyone can feel, and you let your body say, I believe this. Then you ask one crisp question and wait. Waiting is where trust grows. It proves you are not trying to fill their mind for them. You are making space for their mind to arrive. Even in love, the body speaks first. Constant availability reads as fear, not devotion. Reply when you are present, not panicked. Offer warmth with boundaries. Say not tonight when that is your truth, and I'm grateful for you when that is also your truth. Attraction grows where freedom breathes. The less you clutch, the more room there is for someone to choose you. Presence does not plead. Presence invites. All of this only matters if it is ethical. Influence without conscience becomes corrosion. Keep the simple test close. Am I inviting or cornering? Is there space for a no? Am I telling the truth about outcomes? Would I be proud if this moment were recorded? If your presence shrinks, the other person, you are not powerful, you are hungry. Ethical seduction leaves dignity intact on both sides. People should leave encounters with you feeling more themselves, not edited down to fit your needs. Make it a 1-minute practice each day. Feet hip width. Inhale 4, exhale 6, 3 cycles. Drop the shoulders. Soften the eyes until your peripheral vision returns. Speak one paragraph 20% slower than usual. Add one line of play you actually mean. End with an invitation, not an instruction. Would you like the short version or the deep dive? Then watch what rooms do. Watch how often people lean in. Watch how often they meet you halfway. That's the body speaking first and the world answering. Presence over pressure. Trust does not arrive when you demand it. It arrives when your presence makes pressure unnecessary. People think influence is the art of convincing, but most convincing is just noise dressed as urgency. The real work is quieter and more disciplined, creating a space where the other person can think clearly in your company. When the body learns that you won't rush it, frighten it, or seduce it into a corner, it relaxes just enough to hear you. This is the first law of presence. Remove the pressure, and influence has room to breathe. Begin with attention, the most generous currency you have. Not the kind that stares to dominate, but the kind that steadies, scans for understanding, and refuses to multitask the moment to death. You will feel a temptation to prove your value with more words, more facts, more speed. Resist. Value is proven when the other person feels more intelligent in your company, not dazzled by your performance. Let them finish a thought without grabbing the wheel. Let a silence stretch long enough for a new idea to appear. If your presence truly serves the room will do work it couldn't do without you. Listening is not a passive posture. It is an active arrangement of your whole nervous system toward curiosity. You are not waiting to speak. You are learning what the moment is asking for. The questions that come from this kind of listening are different. They are cleaner, shorter, and kinder. What would make this feel easier? What problem are we really solving? If we did nothing for a week, what would still matter? Questions like these are invitations to clarity. They show respect for the other person's mind and respect for your own time. You cannot be present if you are afraid of learning something that contradicts your plan. Presence prefers truth over momentum. Boundaries are how presence protects itself. Without them, you turn attention into martyrdom and martyrdom into resentment. The paradox is simple. When you overgive, you vanish. When you vanish, your influence vanishes with you. So you tell the truth about your limits. I can give this 30 minutes today and more next Monday. You tell the truth about your needs. I'd like questions held until the end so I can land the core idea. You tell the truth about your availability. I'll reply when I'm fully present, not while running between tasks. There is no cruelty in this. It is courage. It teaches people how to meet you at your best. Boundaries don't push people away. They make your yes believable. Calm is not the absence of stakes. It is the refusal to let panic define the stakes. Picture a tense negotiation. In the pressure version, voices sharpen, data gets louder, and both sides grip their positions until the only options left are win or lose. In the presence version, you acknowledge what is real, timelines, constraints, costs, without letting any of it erase humanity. You summarize what you've heard so clearly that the other side nods. You ask for the smallest slice of agreement you can both commit to today. You trade a little certainty now for a lot of trust later. You leave a door open and resist the spectacle of a dramatic finish. That door is where future value will walk through. Story helps, but not the kind that floods. Pressure uses story to sell. Presence uses story to orient. One clean scene, one relatable obstacle, one vivid afterstate. Enough for the listener to stand inside the problem and feel the solution. The moment you feel yourself stacking anecdotes to overwhelm, stop. You're not building a bridge, you're burying one. The most persuasive story is the one the listener begins telling themselves while you talk. That only happens when there's space for their imagination to move. Make that space. Charm can carry you for a minute. Consistency carries you for a career. Being the person whose tempo doesn't spike when stakes rise, whose email tone doesn't curdle when delays happen, whose feedback is firm but never humiliating. This is the quiet architecture of trust. People start to plan around your steadiness. They bring you the thorny problems because you won't make them pay twice for telling the truth, once in consequence and again in shame. Presence does not punish people for being human. It gives them a way to be human and still do excellent work. There will be moments when urgency is real. Deadlines, alarms, emergencies. Even then, presence is an asset. It compresses without panicking. It says, here's what matters in the next hour, and cuts the rest. It assigns a single owner to each task and removes the ornamental language of crisis that burns time and dignity. People move faster for those who protect them from useless speed. The sprint becomes purposeful, not theatrical. When the moment passes, presence insists on recovery, on a debrief without blame, on gratitude that names effort specifically. You stabilize the system in 4 minutes because you stayed focused on the 3 essentials. Gratitude like that is not flattery. It is calibration. It teaches the body what to repeat. You'll notice too that presence changes your relationship with approval. Pressure is an addict. It needs constant proof that it's winning. Presence is a gardener. It measures progress in root systems, not applause. You will still appreciate the nods and the wins, but you won't chase them into rooms that don't deserve you. You'll do the work, offer the invitation, and let outcomes arrive on their own timetable. Oddly enough, that's when outcomes improve. People trust those who can wait. Consider how this plays out in love. Pressure tries to secure affection with performance and availability on demand. Presence offers affection without bargaining and autonomy without drama. You don't disappear when you're challenged. You become more precise. You don't punish with silence. You repair with specificity. You can say, I'm not ready to talk yet, but I want to find our way back, and mean it. You can leave some mystery without weaponizing it. You can be a soft place to land without becoming a floor mat. This balance is not a trick of personality. It is the discipline of self-respect. If presence is a practice, practice needs ritual. Choose simple, repeatable cues. Before a meeting, place both feet on the ground and gather your attention like you would gather a scattered deck of cards. Name one purpose under your breath. Decide what you will not do. You will not compete with interruptions. You will not outrun your breath. You will not fight to be right when being clear will do. During the meeting, let your eyes rest on faces longer than objects. When you feel the old habit to accelerate, translate it into a pause. Afterward, take 60 seconds to ask, where did the room relax? Where did it brace? What did I learn about what this moment needed from me? You are building sensitivity, not a persona. Culture matters, so leave space for difference. Some rooms read directness as care. Others read it as aggression. Some rooms trust humor. Others trust data first and humor later. Presence does not impose one rhythm on every context. It tunes itself to the context while keeping its ethics intact. You will make mistakes. You will overstep in one culture and underwhelm in another. Repair quickly. Curiosity beats certainty. A sincere "how does this land for you" can save months of drift. The temptation will always be to add more intensity, more features, more explanation. The brave move is almost always subtraction. Subtract hurry. Subtract apology you don't owe. Subtract the sugar of constant reassurance that only breeds dependence. What remains? Clean intention, steady tempo, honest boundaries, a little play, and a touch of mystery does more work than volume ever could. Presence trims the noise until people can hear themselves again. When they can hear themselves, they can hear you. If you need a compass for difficult days, try this. Before you step into the room, ask who you want the other person to be when the conversation ends, less afraid, more informed, clearer about choices, respected even in disagreement. Then carry yourself in a way that makes that outcome likely. This is the ethic that keeps power humane. You are not here to win a moment and lose a person. You are here to cultivate a field where the right answer can grow. Sometimes that answer will be no. Presence can live with no. Pressure cannot. In time you'll look back and realize that the rooms where you once strained have become rooms where you belong, not because you cracked a secret code, but because you stopped trying to force a door. You became a door. People could walk through at their pace, with their dignity intact, toward a future that felt chosen rather than coerced. That is presence over pressure. That is the kind of influence that lasts. Boundaries that make your yes believable. A promise only has weight if it rests on a boundary. Without boundaries, every yes is soft, every no is delayed, and your presence starts to feel like fog, everywhere and nowhere at once. People may like. You even praise your generosity, but the quiet truth is that influence dissolves where limits are unclear. Boundaries are not fences you raise against the world. They are the edges that give your voice a shape. They make your yes something a room can lean on. Think about the last time you overgave. You said yes because you didn't want to disappoint, or because the silence after a request made you anxious, or because some part of you was still trying to earn a seat you already had. You filled hours you didn't have, sent messages you didn't mean, and sold your attention in tiny pieces until the day had no center. Then resentment arrived, dragging shame behind it. Resentment says, "They're taking too much." Shame says, "I offered it." Boundaries are what remove both voices from the script. When you set them clearly and kindly, there is nothing to resent and nothing to hide. Your energy has an owner again. It shows. There's a misconception that boundaries are hard, cold, confrontational. Things, lines you draw with a raised voice and a moral lecture. In practice, the most powerful boundaries are soft-voiced and early. They sound like orientation, not punishment. I can give this half an hour today and more next week. I won't be available after 6, but I'll respond in the morning. I'm happy to help once, and then I'll point you to the guide so you can run with it. You are not closing doors, you are labeling them. Clarity is kindness in advance. When boundaries vanish, urgency sneaks in wearing the clothes of care. You start answering messages at the speed of other people's anxiety. You start accepting meetings that have no owner and no agenda because someone sounded worried. You start doing other people's thinking for them. The result isn't connection, it's exhaustion. Connection requires choice, and choice requires edges. When you show people where you end, you give them a place to meet you. When everything about you spills everywhere, they can't find you and you can't find yourself. Watch how boundaries transform your voice. Without them, you explain too much. You add sugar to every sentence, so no one's feelings hit a sharp corner. You apologize for existing. With them, you become precise. You say what is true and then you stop. You don't inflate the promise to seduce agreement, and you don't shrink the ask to dodge conflict. You trust that adults can hear limits. The body reads that trust instantly. Shoulders drop on both sides. The conversation moves from bargaining to building. If you're worried that limits will make you less lovable, test the opposite. People trust those who do not disappear. If you say, "I'll get this to you by Friday," and Friday means Friday, not a breathless excuse at midnight, your words start to carry a thud of reality. If you decline when you must, cleanly, without drama, people learn that your yes isn't a placeholder. It's a commitment. Boundaries are the difference between being easy and being reliable. Easy gets applause for a moment. Reliable gets invited back. Boundaries also rescue your creativity from the death of constant availability. Good work needs stretches of uninterrupted attention, the way a seed needs darkness before it becomes a sprout. When you block time and protect it like a promise to yourself, you're not being selfish. You're being a good steward. You're saying, I respect the thing I'm building enough to give it a home. The world will always offer you 1,000 urgent reasons to abandon depth. Boundaries are the quiet refusal that keeps depth alive. In relationships, boundaries are the oxygen mask you put on before offering air to someone else. Love without edges melts into caretaking and control, checking, fixing, anticipating moods, reading silences like weather maps. Then you start calling that labor devotion. But devotion is not the same as disappearing. Devotion without self-respect breeds imbalance, and imbalance breeds a kind of hunger that no partner can satisfy for long. Boundaries let you say, I want to be here and I want to stay myself while I'm here. That sentence is not a threat. It is an invitation to a mature kind of closeness where two people meet, not merge. Of course, some people won't like your limits, especially if your old habit was to offer endless access. Expect friction, expect surprise, expect a little testing of the fence. Don't turn that testing into a courtroom drama. Let your actions teach. When you say you'll call tomorrow, call tomorrow. When you say you won't answer late, don't. Ritual beats rhetoric. Over time, even the skeptics learn the shape of your yes and the meaning of your no. And the ones who only valued you for how much of yourself you'd give away will fade toward the exits, an outcome that hurts and heals at once. You may need scripts while your body learns the new shape of honesty. Keep them short so your courage doesn't have to carry a paragraph. Try. I can't add this now, but I can revisit it Tuesday. Try. I don't have the bandwidth to do this well. Would you like a smaller version, or should we push the timeline? Try. I'm not available for last-minute changes after sign-off. These are not weapons, they are handles, ways for both of you to hold the work without dropping each other. Notice how boundaries change your relationship with time. Without them, you live by interruption, burn slow on resentment, and wonder why the work you care about never quite finds its full shape. With them, you begin to place your best, hours where they belong. Morning becomes sacred to building, afternoons to collaboration, evenings to rest or love, or wandering thoughts that make tomorrow's ideas possible. Boundaries do not make life rigid, they make excellence possible. They free you from the constant negotiation of what next, and let you settle into what matters now. Boundaries also refine your generosity. When you're not leaking attention everywhere, your acts of care become intentional and bright. A short note lands like a gift because it wasn't dragged out of a tired body. An hour you offer a friend is truly yours to give, not a loan you'll collect in quiet resentment. Generosity inside boundaries multiplies. Generosity outside them shrinks both giver and receiver until kindness feels like a debt. If you want your warmth to heal rather than confuse, give it a container. There's a gentler point here too. Boundaries are not only about saying no to others. They're also about saying no to the versions of yourself that sabotage presence, the version that chases approval by overpromising, the version that agrees out of fear and then ghosts when the fear flips to fatigue, the version that thinks martyrdom is a shortcut to love. You can thank those versions for trying to protect you and then refuse their methods. We're doing this differently now, you can tell your nervous system. We're going to be honest sooner and kinder, longer. If you're worried this will make you less ambitious, look closely. Boundaries don't slow momentum, they aim it. They take all the scattered yeses and pour them into a few precise channels where mastery can happen. They turn busy into builder. They turn apology into promise. They turn your life from a constantly negotiated truce into a craft you can actually practice. The world does not need more frantic talent. It needs more people whose talents have a spine. Begin small. Choose one place to set a clean edge. Your mornings, your inbox window, your meeting length, your response time, your social availability, after work. Guard it for a week without fanfare. Let the benefits speak for you. When someone asks for more than you can give, tell the truth early and kindly. When you wobble, and you will, repair quickly. I overcommitted. Here's what I can do well, and here's what I can't. Watch how many problems dissolve when clarity arrives before resentment. In the end, boundaries are the architecture of a believable life. They let love stay warm without burning you out. They let work stay demanding without eating you alive. They let your voice mean what it says. When you carry limits with steadiness and grace, rooms stop testing you and start trusting you. People stop guessing who you are from moment to moment and start relying on you for what you reliably are. That reliability is not boring, it's magnetic. It pulls the right people and the right problems toward you because you have made a shape they can count on. Let your yes be a place someone can stand. Let your no be a hand that points, not a door that slams. Let your edges tell the truth so your center can stay generous. Boundaries do not make you smaller. They make you visible. They make you real. They make your presence carry the weight. To have someone who knows where they're going and can take others with them without losing themselves on the way. Tempo, where meaning catches up to sound. Speed flatters the ego. It makes you feel competent, electric, inevitable. But speed also cheats understanding. It rushes past the moment where trust is born, the quiet hinge between your words and their impact. Tempo is the discipline of refusing to sprint through the part that matters most. It is the art of letting meaning catch up to sound so the other person can meet you, not just hear you. And once you start honoring tempo, the world around you begins to shift. Rooms calm, ideas land, people breathe. Think about the last conversation that truly changed something for you. Chances are nobody shouted, nobody flooded you with proof. Somewhere in it there was a pause that felt like a held doorway. You stepped through at your own pace and found yourself standing in a new room. That is what tempo does. It turns persuasion into permission. It gives dignity back to the listener by refusing to drag them. It trusts that insight can arrive on time if you stop trying to drag it ahead of schedule. We mistake urgency for importance because the body's alarms are loud. A notification blinks and your pulse answers it like a name being called. A question lands and your mind throws the first solution across the table just to quiet the discomfort of not yet knowing. But there is a cost to winning the race against discomfort. We buy speed with accuracy. We trade depth for relief. We get the meeting done and lose the point of the meeting. Tempo is a revolt against that trade. It is a way of saying, we will move quickly when quickness serves us, and we will move slowly when slowness is where truth lives. Watch the performers you trust, teachers, leaders, lovers of craft. They carry a cadence that refuses panic. They know when to step on the sentence and when to step off it, how to place a breath so the idea can cross the street without getting hit. Their pauses aren't empty, they are frames. They give you a second to picture the scene, to hear your own thinking, to realize you agree or disagree for reasons that actually belong to you. They don't rush that second because they respect what happens inside it. That respect reads as confidence. You feel safe near it. You lend it your attention willingly. Tempo is not about slowness for its own sake. Slowness can be as manipulative as speed if it's used to fog or dominate. Tempo is about fit. It asks, what rhythm would let this moment work? A status update might need brisk steps and clean beats. A conflict needs room for breath you can hear. A pitch needs a glide path to an ask that doesn't crash land. A goodbye needs a long hallway so the dignity of ending can keep up with the fact of it. When your rhythm and the moment's rhythm match, people stop bracing. They stop translating your hurry. They start traveling with you. You can feel tempo in your own body before you hear it in your voice. The tell is the urge to rush the last third of a sentence because you're afraid of how it will land. You can catch that urge mid-flight, like you would catch a falling glass, gently with 2 hands. Finish the sentence a syllable sooner than you want to. Then let 2 seconds open. 2 seconds is forever on a nervous system's clock, and exactly long enough on a human one for the listener to decide they're still with you. Those 2 seconds are not a void. They are the exact place where shared understanding grows roots. Work tempo is the difference between teams that burn bright and teams that burn out. A frantic leader creates frantic followers. Every Slack message is an alarm. Every meeting is an evacuation. Work becomes an unending fire drill where nobody remembers what they were hired to build. Presence steps in and changes the metronome. It says, "Here's what matters today, and let silence confirm it." It asks the one question that organizes 10 tasks. It shortens the meeting by cutting performance and lengthens the thought by protecting a real pause. You get less spectacle and more architecture, and because the rhythm is sane, people bring their best minds instead of their loudest fears. In sales tempo draws a human-sized outline around the future. The pressured pitch is breathless, proofy, and oddly unconvincing because the listener's nervous system is too busy defending itself to imagine anything new. The embodied pitch treats imagination as a muscle you warm up. One scene, one cost. Of the present, one felt glimpse of the after, then stop. Let them see themselves there. Ask one question that makes the vision theirs. Wait. You are not withholding to create scarcity. You are creating the conditions where their yes would be self-respect, not surrender. In conflict, tempo is mercy. The body begs for speed when it feels cornered. Talk over, pile on, win by volume. The wiser part knows that speed here is gasoline, so you slow the frame. You repeat what you heard until the other person can say, "Yes, that's it." You ask what outcome would feel like. Relief, not victory. You name where you agree in words plain enough to stand on. You let your voice lose its courtroom tone. You refuse the quickness that turns a solvable problem into a durable wound. The argument may still be hard. It will also be human. In love, tempo protects desire from the weather of moods. Not every silence needs to be filled. Not every text deserves a sprint. Paradoxically, pacing your affection gives it oxygen. You can be warm without being constant. You can say, "I want to hear," the long version, and mean it because you've made an evening where the long version fits. You can let intimacy accumulate through a handful of unrushed rituals. A walk that has no goal but time, a meal without screens, a bedtime question that gets asked even when the day failed. Desire rarely dies of disinterest. It dies of crowding. Tempo gives it a little sky. Even your digital life has a pulse you can tune. The slot machine rhythm of feeds is designed to train your thumb, not your mind. You can set your own tempo there too. Batch your responses. Choose windows of attention and guard them. Let some pings be answered by the next hour and some by the next day. The world won't end. The part of you that remembers how to think will resurface like a diver who had been under too long. You'll notice that when you choose your rhythm, you also choose which problems are allowed to be yours. There's a gentleness woven through all of this that you can't fake. Patience with the moment you're in. Tempo is patience operationalized. It is faith that the right words will appear if you stop dragging the wrong ones across the table. It is respect for your listener's dignity. It is also self-respect, declining to make your value depend on how quickly you can fill empty space. The pause is not a threat to your authority. It is its proof. You will forget, of course. You will speed through a call you should have slowed and watch the idea hit the wall you built out of hurry. You will hear yourself stacking clauses just to outrun the fear of a question. When that happens, don't scold, reset. Take one visible breath, name what you rushed past. Let me slow down and say that cleanly. The room will forgive you faster than you forgive yourself. People aren't allergic to imperfection. They're allergic to being dragged. When you own your tempo, you let them unclench. If you want a practice, it's humble. Before you speak in any room that matters, choose a sentence worth pausing after. Not the clever one, the true one. Deliver it at a pace that would make it legible on a page. End it as if you trusted the silence to hold it. Then let the silence work. If you cannot bear those 2 seconds, ask yourself what you're afraid they'll show you. Often it's simple. You're afraid you won't be enough without the rush. You will be, you are, and when you listen, give the gift you keep begging from others, time. Let someone finish the thing they didn't know they were trying to say. Don't tidy it for them. Don't hijack their conclusion with a faster one that makes you feel clever. Let the mess breathe until meaning separates from fog. People remember the one who gave them that moment. They remember the relief of a conversation that didn't feel like a race. They remember you because you let them remember themselves. Tempo will not make your life quiet. It will make it audible. It will not make you passive. It will make you precise. The world will still be loud and alarms will still sound, and some days will earn their speed, but more and more you will choose the beat on which you move. You will carry a private metronome that no headline can seize. You will find that the rooms you lead don't just meet deadlines, they meet each other. That your pitch books don't just close deals, they open futures worth living in. That your yes sounds like a bell with a clean ring, because you let the silence before it clear the air. Let meaning catch up to sound. Let the body set a rhythm the mind can think inside. Let your words travel at the speed of trust. And when the old reflex grips your throat and says, "Faster," smile like someone who knows a better road and take one more breath. Playfulness, the warmth that lowers the drawbridge. Play is not the opposite of seriousness. Play is how seriousness becomes human. It's the warmth that lowers the drawbridge, the spark that tells a nervous system you're safe enough to step closer. We often mistake playfulness for clowning or for a performance that begs for approval. That's not it. Real play is a form of care. It's the decision to treat a moment as a dance instead of a duel, to let a shared smile do work that arguments can't. When you bring this kind of light into a room, it doesn't trivialize the work. It makes the work possible. Think about the meetings where creativity actually happened. They weren't the ones where everyone sat bolt upright, measuring their words like rations. They were the ones where someone risked a small human moment, a self-deprecating line about spilling coffee, a quick grin when the projector refused to behave, a curious, "What if we're solving the wrong problem?" That made the table relax. That lightness didn't derail the task. It unclenched the collective jaw so the right idea could get through. Fun is not the enemy of focus. Tension is. Playfulness starts with how you hold yourself. There's a difference between a smile that asks for permission and a smile that offers it. The first is tight at the edges, hoping to be liked. The second is easy, grounded, a signal that says, "You don't need to impress me to be safe here." You can feel the difference in your own body. The performative grin drains you. The genuine one gives you back breath. If you can't find the latter on command, don't fake it. Make space for it. Breathe first. Unclench the jaw. Remember one specific thing about the person in front of you that you actually appreciate. Let your face tell that truth. Even if the rest of you is tired, play shows up in your questions too. The pressure question tries to corner, "Don't you agree this is the only way?" The playful question invites, "If we had to solve this without spending money, what would we try first? What's the laziest solution that would still work? If this were easy, what would be true?" These aren't tricks, they're doorways. They take the moment out of a binary, my idea versus your idea, and into a field where new options can grow. The instant someone feels they can be clever with you instead of correct against you, collaboration becomes fun again. There's a humility in playfulness that people trust. It admits the world is bigger than your plan. It admits you might discover something together that neither of you could have forced alone. It also admits your own edges with grace. "I messed that up. Thanks for catching it." "I have half an idea. Can you lend me the other half?" Statements like these aren't self-sabotage. They're a way of telling the room you won't weaponize imperfection. When imperfection is allowed, initiative returns. Teams stop hiding and start building. In conflict, playfulness is not a joke that dodges pain. It's a gentleness that keeps pain from hardening into pride. A tiny tilt of the voice that says, "I'm not here to win at your expense." A relaxed, "Help me understand the part I'm missing," delivered without the courtroom tone. Even a micro smile when you realize you've been arguing past each other for 10 minutes can turn a standoff into a repair. This doesn't mean making light of hurt. It means refusing to make the other person wrong for having it. Lightness opens space for truth to walk through without armor. In leadership, playful rituals build culture faster than slogans. 5 minutes of bad ideas only at the start of a brainstorm can unstick a week. A standing rule that the first prototype must be hilariously ugly can save a quarter. A bell that's rung for small wins, not just giant ones, teaches the body to notice progress. None of this is childish, it's intentional. It tells the nervous system that effort will be seen, Risk will be met with curiosity, and learning is part of the job description. When you build these rituals, you're not decorating the work, you're tuning the room to a frequency where excellence can sing. In sales, playfulness softens the edges of money talk. Pressure tries to dazzle and dominate. Play treats the conversation like an honest exploration. Let's pretend we've already shipped. What's the first complaint we'd get? If this flopped, what would we say went wrong at the post-mortem? Laughter at a hypothetical failure doesn't jinx the deal. It disarms the fear that failure can't be named. Then you can solve the real risks together. The yes you get after that kind of conversation is stronger. It belongs to both of you. In love, play keeps devotion from choking on duty. It's the inside joke that survives a hard day, the ridiculous dance in the kitchen, the bedtime game of 2 truths and 1 dream. It's the way you text a line that makes your partner smile in the middle of a meeting. Not because you're trying to own their attention, but because you're reminding their nervous system that you are a safe place to land. Play is not avoiding hard conversations. Play is what makes hard conversations survivable. It gives you both a reason to come back after the storm. There's a boundary to honor here. Playfulness is never an instrument to pry past someone's no. If the room is saying not now, you listen. If a joke would land like a dismissal, you don't make it. If grief is present, you don't demand levity to manage your own discomfort. The rule is simple. Play should lower threat, not erase reality. You can't offer the gift of lightness if you're pretending the dark isn't there. The paradox is that when people feel you won't use play to silence them, they relax enough to laugh again. What if you don't feel naturally playful? Good. Play is a practice, not a personality type. Start with micro moments that cost nothing. When something small goes wrong, narrate it lightly. Perfect, our villain arc begins. When someone brings you a rough idea, praise the courage before the craft. Thank you for going first. When the room is stiff, ask a mischievous what if. If we had to deliver this by tomorrow with 1 feature, what would it be? Try a 2-minute ritual at the start of meetings where you name 1 oddly specific delight from your week. The smell of rain in a stairwell, the silence of early morning streets, the smile a stranger gave you on the train. Specificity makes sincerity easier. Sincerity makes play safe. Craft your language to carry this warmth. Shave down the edges that sound like orders. Replace "we need to" with "what if we tried" when the stakes allow it. Trade "that won't work" for "what would make that work." Shift from "I disagree" to "I'm seeing it from another angle. Can I test it out loud?" None of this neuters your clarity. You can still say the clean no when you must. Playfulness isn't the absence of edges. It's the grace with which you carry them into the room. Protect your capacity for play the same way you protect your focus. Exhaustion makes cynics of all of us. If you're always sprinting, your warmth will feel like a mask you can't keep straight. Rest is not a luxury here. It's part of your ethical obligation to the rooms you lead. When you are resourced, your humor is gentle rather than sharp. Your curiosity returns. Your delight finds details again, and details are the breadcrumb. Trail back to being human. Watch how your influence changes when play becomes part of your signature. People bring you problems sooner because they know you won't punish them for being messy. They volunteer bolder ideas because they trust you to handle risk without humiliation. Meetings shrink because you waste less time performing competence. Feedback lands because it's wrapped in respect. The room starts to look forward to the work, and when a crisis does arrive, your lightness doesn't vanish. It turns into steadiness with a pulse. You'll still crack a smile when the thing finally restarts. The body will register the message. We can do hard things and keep our humanity. If you need a simple ritual to begin, try this. Before any meaningful conversation, choose 1 way to add oxygen. A sincere compliment on something specific. A playful what-if question. A tiny admission. I'm a little nervous, which probably means this matters. Deliver it cleanly. Don't smother the moment with charm. Then return to clarity. Lightness. Truth, lightness, truth. The rhythm of trust. Let your warmth be real, your timing respectful, your curiosity contagious. Let play be the way you remind a room that excellence and ease are not enemies. Lower the drawbridge. Invite people across. When they arrive, they'll discover something that speed and pressure never gave them, the courage to be fully present with you. And that presence, the one you've been practicing, will turn into work you're proud of, love you can live inside, and a life that feels less like a performance and more like a dance you actually want to keep dancing. Mystery, the art of the right amount. Mystery is not a mask you hide behind. It's the space you leave so meaning can breathe. It is the right amount of reveal at the right time for the right purpose. When you practice mystery ethically, you are not withholding to control. You are pacing to respect. You are letting curiosity do some of the work so the other person's mind can arrive under its own power. And when a mind arrives on its own, it stays. We confuse mystery with distance because we've met people who used silence like a wall. That's not mystery, that's avoidance. Real mystery feels like a lit path that curves just enough to make you want to keep walking. You see enough to trust where you're going. You sense more beyond the bend. Nothing is fogged to keep you powerless. Everything is framed to keep attention alive. The right amount is the art. Consider how this plays out in conversation. You can drown a moment with detail. Every footnote, every justification, every inch of your reasoning lined up like soldiers at inspection. The listener's mind has nowhere to move. It collapses under the weight of your certainty. Or you can tell the part that matters, clean and felt, and then stop. You don't tease with emptiness. You end at a natural hinge where a question belongs. And because you respected the listener's intelligence, a question arrives. Tell me more about that. Now the conversation is co-authored. Now the connection is alive. Mystery loves edges. It asks you to offer outline before texture, gesture before grip. In a pitch, that might mean painting a vivid afterstate in 2 sentences the body can feel, then letting silence hold the picture. In a teaching moment, it might mean starting with a question, when have you seen this go wrong? And letting the class surface their own examples before you bring yours. In leadership, it might mean showing the direction and the why, then inviting the team to architect the how. When you resist the impulse to finish every thought for other people, they finish thoughts with you. Ownership grows where room is left. This is not performance, it's pacing. There are times when clarity demands full disclosure now. Safety issues, ethical stakes, urgent corrections. No coyness, no curve in the road. Mystery serves truth. It never shields it. Ask yourself, am I leaving space for the other mind? Or am I hiding because I'm afraid of their reaction? If it's fear, say so. I'm nervous to bring this up, but it matters. That sentence is honest and alive, hiding is neither. In love, mystery is the respect you give to timing. You let a long story unfold across months rather than unloading. Your entire archive on a first night of trust. You reveal the right details when the relationship can hold them. You don't manipulate by withholding affection to create chase. You keep a little sky in the middle so desire can lift its head. You leave a day unscripted. You keep one personal ritual that is yours alone, not as a fortress but as a root. The paradox shows up again. You become more magnetic when you are not entirely consumed. People can feel the difference between a life that is open and a life that is emptied out. In work, mystery is the difference between announcements people skim and stories they follow. If every update is a finished movie, the audience only claps. If you release the right trailer, enough stakes, a human reason to care, a hint of the path, you get collaborators, not spectators. The wrong version of this becomes hype, noise. That promises and never pays. The right version keeps faith by paying as it goes. A small win seen, a risk named, a next step shared. Your team learns to trust the rhythm. They lean toward the next frame because the last one earned them. Mystery clarifies the boundary between privacy and secrecy. Privacy says, my life has rooms that aren't for public traffic, and that's healthy. Secrecy says, if you knew this, the relationship would collapse, so I'll bury it and make you feel crazy for asking. Privacy nourishes, secrecy poisons. Mystery belongs with privacy. It communicates without confession. It sets expectations without a ledger. You can say, I'm not ready to talk about that part yet, but I will when I have the words, and let your reliability make that sentence true. The body carries mystery more convincingly than the mouth. A steady gaze that doesn't dart to see if the line landed. a relaxed hand that doesn't fidget to harvest approval, a voice that ends the sentence when the meaning ends, not when the fear of silence does. People read your comfort with space. If you treat every pause like an emergency, they will too. If you treat space like a place where connection deepens, they'll find themselves leaning in. Mystery is not the absence of sound, it's the music of restraint. Try telling a story in 3 beats. The moment before, the hinge, the after. We're losing momentum. One conversation reset our rhythm. We cut half the meetings, doubled the work that mattered. Then stop. If the listener needs more, they'll ask. When they do, answer the question asked, not the one your anxiety made. This keeps the trail crisp. It keeps the other person with you instead of running ahead or dropping behind. You're not rationing truth. You're giving the mind a cadence it can follow without stumbling. Mystery is also how you honor the future. You don't overpromise to secure the present. You keep a clean reserve of possibility, a small, bright sentence you won't spend. Until it's real. Instead of, we can absolutely deliver X by the end of the month, you say, here's what we can deliver for sure, and here's the stretch we'll attempt with your permission. You still reach. You still own ambition. But you leave enough air in the frame that success can expand without tearing the canvas. When success arrives, your earlier restraint turns into credibility. They tell the truth. They don't sell smoke. Digital life pressures us to explain everything. Every thought wants a caption, every meal a story, every quiet day a justification. Mystery is your refusal to turn your interior into content. You let some moments belong only to the moment. You let a walk be a walk. You share less than you live. Oddly, this makes what you do share more valuable. It feels chosen, not harvested. It lands like a letter, not a broadcast. The world remembers that you are not a feed, you are a person. In conflict, mystery makes repair possible by not scripting the other person's motives. You don't declare, you did this because, and trap them in a case you're prosecuting. You say, here's how it landed here, and leave room to learn. You let their explanation surprise you. You let your own certainty be revised by a detail you didn't know. This is curiosity, the oldest companion of mystery, and it turns enemies into people again. A mind that still believes it could be wrong is a mind that can still be in love. When you want to practice, begin with the smallest cut. End one sentence sooner. Don't stack the last clause. Let the punctuation arrive like a breath that trusts the air. Notice how often the other person steps into the space you left with a better question than the one you were about to answer. Practice a clean reveal. There's a piece of this I'm not ready to share, and it's not about you. Here's what I can say now. Practice a clean invitation. Would you like the short version or the long version? Practice a clean. Decency. I don't have the answer yet. Give me a day and I'll bring you something worth your time. Notice how mystery softens urgency without softening standards. A team can move fast without being breathless, because not every thread is yanked into daylight at once. A relationship can deepen without flooding, because not every need is converted into a demand. A leader can stand without a sermon, because not every insight is performed. You are not shrinking what you offer. You are shaping it. You are letting the outline arrive before the color, the melody before the harmony, the question before the proof. You'll hear a voice in you worry that this restraint is weakness, that if you don't fill the air, someone else will, that if you don't reveal everything, people will leave. Sometimes they will. Let them. The connections that require constant floodlights don't survive power outages. The ones that can sit in twilight for a while, trusting, listening, waiting for the next curve of the path, are the ones you can build a life inside. Mystery is not a trick to keep others interested. It is a discipline that keeps you honest about what is ready, what is worthy, and what is still becoming itself. What becomes of you when you practice this? Your voice gains gravity because it no longer chases. Your presence gains depth because it no longer spills. People learn that a yes from you is not a reflex, it is a chosen act. They learn that a story from you is not a performance, it is a gift you measured before giving. They learn that there will be a next chapter, and that next chapters with you are worth waiting for. And then something gentle happens. You become someone others don't just listen to. You become someone they live with in their thoughts after the conversation ends. Let that be your signature. Not the loudest in the room, not the most explained. The most tuned, the most trustworthy in the way you reveal. A person who knows that attention is a flame and that your job is not to throw gasoline on it, but to shelter it with your hand so it can light the next thing that truly matters. Leave. A little curve in the road. Let curiosity walk with you. Tell the truth and tell the right amount. Practice. The 60-second reset. Change happens when the body learns a new minute. Not a new life philosophy, not a heroic 6-month plan. One honest minute that teaches your nervous system another way to be in the world. You don't need mystical conditions. You need a repeatable ritual that fits inside the smallest crack of a day and still has the power to adjust your presence, your voice, and the weather of the room around you. This is the work of the 60-second reset. Done often, it becomes the hinge your influence swings on. Begin standing or seated with both feet grounded. Let your hands rest where they no longer audition. If you can, let your spine imagine a quiet line from tailbone to crown, as if a gentle thread were keeping you tall without making you rigid. Then breathe. In for 4, out for 6, 3 times. Not dramatic, not theatrical, just enough length that your shoulders consider dropping and your jaw remembers it has nothing to hold. You are not preparing to perform. You are reminding your body that nothing wise is lost by relaxing first. Now widen your gaze, not by staring, but by letting the edges of the room come back. This softens the tunnel vision that panic loves. Scan once for the simplest human detail you appreciate. The care someone took with a note, the quiet of the morning light through glass, the courage of a colleague who still tries when it would. Be cheaper to quit. Let that appreciation warm your face 1 degree. A face that remembers appreciation before speaking carries a steadier invitation than a face that drags urgency into the room. Choose one sentence that matters. Not the clever one, the true one. The kind that would still be true if the meeting were shorter and the stakes higher. Hold it long enough to feel its weight. Then decide you will speak it at a pace that would make it legible if printed. This isn't slowness for slowness's sake. It's tempo aligned to meaning. You are setting the metronome others can borrow. When you begin, let your first syllable belong fully to your breath, not your rush. Say the sentence. End it 1 beat sooner than your habit wants. Then give 2 seconds to the room. That silence is not an absence. It is where trust tries on your words to see if they fit. Don't snatch the moment back. Let someone else move first if they want to. You are signaling that this is not a chase. If the room is stiff, add the smallest measure of play that honors the moment. A line that admits reality without making light of it. I'm aiming for the clean version of this. Stop me if I drift into jargon. A curiosity that opens options. If we had to solve this with 0 new budget, what would we try first? A kindness that lowers defenses. Before we critique, thank you for going first. You are dropping the drawbridge by a few inches, enough to cross. Close the minute by naming one clear next step, or by asking a question that lets ownership move toward the right hands. You don't need drum rolls, you need a path. If we agree the bottleneck is handoffs, I propose we test a 2-week freeze on new features and measure the change. Or, would you like the short version, or the deep dive, or simply what would make this feel easier? Then stop. That stop is part of the practice. It keeps your yes from spilling, and your authority from sounding like a plea. You have just practiced presence in under a minute. Breath, gaze, intention, tempo, play, and a respectful edge. Repeat it before calls, between emails, in elevators, in doorways. The trick is not grandeur, it is frequency. The nervous system learns by exposure. Do not wait for the important moments. Make them. Some days the minute will resist you. The email storm will tempt you back into speed. Your chest will tighten. Your words will pile up like carts at the top of a hill. When you notice this, don't scold yourself into better behavior. Treat the noticing like victory. Reset midstream. Let me say that cleanly. Breathe once where people can see you choose calm. In a culture addicted to hurry, visible self-regulation is leadership. You are not modeling perfection. You are modeling recovery. You can adapt the ritual to different rooms without losing its spine. In a crisis, compress the breath. In for 3, out for 5, 2 cycles, and name the next hour's priorities with the gentlest authority you can muster. In a brainstorm, keep the breath long and your first sentence playful. For the next 5 minutes, bad ideas only, breadth before, depth. In conflict, anchor the breath and spend your minute reflecting back the other person's truth in words they recognize. What I'm hearing is X, and it makes sense because Y. Did I get it? The minute is the same shape. The content meets the moment. Build micro-habits around the ritual so it finds you without effort. Place a dot on your laptop's bezel where your eyes drift between tasks. Let it remind you to breathe before clicking send. Rename a recurring meeting with a cue word. Weekly sync, calm, clear, one true sentence. Put a small pebble in your pocket. Each time you feel it, pick one posture adjustment you can keep for the next 5 minutes. Soften, gaze, unlock knees, still hands, slower cadence. These are not charms, they are handles your body can grab when your mind is busy. If you lead others, teach them the minute explicitly, not as a rule to scold with, but as culture to share. Begin meetings with a short breath and a line of appreciation. Normalize the pause by asking, "Can we sit with that for 2 seconds?" Protect play. Let's spend 3 minutes on the laziest version that might work. Protect edges. We'll end at 55 so people can land the next hour. The ritual becomes communal rhythm. People start arriving already tuned. The 60-second reset also repairs your relationship with technology. Before you answer, ask whether speed serves meaning. Batch what can be batched. Let non-urgent pings wait for the time you give them instead of the time they steal. When you do respond, give the message the minute it deserves. Helpful subject. Line one true sentence first, one specific ask. You are not only saving time, you are teaching attention to follow signal. This makes your future minutes cheaper and your present ones kinder. The ritual is ethical by design. Breath prevents bulldozing. Gaze widens into empathy. Intention curbs manipulation. Tempo keeps space for consent. Play fights fear without erasing truth. Edges make promises honest. If any part starts to feel like a trick to extract faster yeses, stop and recalibrate. The point is not to become more persuasive. The point is to become more trustworthy, and let persuasion be the side effect. What about the minute when nothing works? When grief sits in the room? When shame flushes your skin? When the stakes tangle your tongue? Then the practice is even simpler. Name the weather. I'm noticing I'm tight right now and I don't want to rush this. Or, this matters to me and I'd like to take a breath before I answer. The moment you speak the truth of, your state pressure drops by half. You have turned a private struggle into a shared condition the room can work with. That too is presence. Sustainability matters. A minute can change a meeting. Only rest can change a life. Protect the hours that refill your ability to offer oxygen. A walk without a destination. A meal where knives and forks are the only tools on the table. A page in the evening that quiets your mind more than a scroll that scatters it. The reset works better when you aren't asking it to lift the whole weight of your neglect. Think of rest as the ground your 60-second seeds are planted in. No ground, no harvest. A week from now, if you practice daily, you will notice small revisions to your days. Interruptions will still knock, but fewer will enter. Meetings will still happen, but more will end earlier with clearer ownership. Hard. Conversations will still sting, but fewer will scar. People will not be able to name why your influence feels different. They will only know they think better near you. That is the mark of a minute done well. The room becomes more intelligent. In your company, if you want one more layer, give the minute a closing ritual that belongs only to you. Their palm pressed lightly to the sternum as you finish speaking. A phrase you repeat under the breath. Presence over pressure. Clean and kind. Short, true, pause. A glance toward the window to remember that the world is larger than the room. This is not superstition. It's a way to signal to your nervous system that a cycle has completed and a new one can begin. Over time, these small closures keep your energy from fraying at the edges. In the end, the 60-second reset is not a technique. It is a way of telling the truth sooner. The truth about your breath and your speed. The truth about what matters and what does not. The truth about the fact that influence worth having begins inside a body that knows how to stand still long. Enough for trust to grow. Practice the minute. Practice it when you feel strong and when you feel scattered. Practice it before the stakes rise and in the heart of the storm. Let it stitch your days together into something steadier than mood and kinder than hurry. 1 minute is small enough to do and large enough to change the weather. Teach it to your mornings until your mornings teach it to your afternoons. Let it become the hinge you reach for without thinking. And when someone asks months from now why rooms seem different when you arrive, you can tell them the secret without mystery. I give myself a minute before I give you my words. Then breathe. Look, choose the sentence that matters and let the silence do the part you no longer try to steal. Intention. Direction. Without force. Influence becomes clean the moment intention becomes clear. Not performed clear, not announced in a slide. Felt clear. People can sense when your purpose is sharper than your need to be liked. They can also sense when you're hunting approval and calling it vision. Intention is the silent compass your body carries into every room. It organizes your words, steadies your eyes, and chooses your tempo for you. When it's honest, you stop pushing. Direction emerges without force. Most of us arrive to moments with a blur of motives. Prove I'm competent, get this over with, avoid being questioned, make them like me, don't mess up. That blur leaks into our voice. We speed, we over-explain. We stack assurances until the sentence bends under their weight. The room feels the wobble and protects itself with caution. Now we're working twice. Once to say the thing and once to convince people we meant the thing we said. Intention simplifies the job. I'm here to connect. I'm here to learn. I'm here to offer the next clear step. Quietly. Naming one purpose trims the noise until what remains is signal. You don't have to announce your intention for it to work. The body will broadcast it either way. If your hidden aim is extraction, your posture will tilt forward like a borrower. If your aim is service, your posture will open like a host. Extraction narrows your gaze and turns silence into a weapon. Service widens your gaze and turns silence into space. People feel the difference at the speed of a blink. They won't always articulate it. They don't need to. Their nervous systems will choose for them, lean in or brace. Intention should. Be specific enough to steer, humble enough to adjust. Close this deal at any cost is not an intention. It's an ultimatum disguised as ambition. Understand their real risk and offer a path that fits is an intention. It tells your curiosity what to look for and your honesty what not to promise. It shapes your questions toward clarity instead of cornering. Oddly, it also increases your odds of the yes you wanted because you remove the pressure that would have strangled it. In practice, intention turns conversations from theater into engineering. Before the meeting, you define the problem you're actually there to move by 1 notch. Not everything, 1 notch. Reduce handoff delays. Decide the MVP cut. Leave with 3 options and a decision date. Then you behave like someone who believes progress is possible without spectacle. When people swerve into side quests and status performances, you greet the detour kindly and return to the road. Let me check I'm tracking us toward the goal. If the bottleneck is handoffs, can we test a 2-week freeze and measure the change? You are not policing, you are guarding the point. Intention cleans your language. It removes the sugar you sprinkle to make truth go down. You stop selling the thing you haven't earned and start stating the thing you can stand behind. Here is the trade-off. Here is what we can guarantee. Here is what becomes possible if we wait 1 more sprint. You'll feel a tug to add glitter. Don't. Glitter is heavy in the air and cheap on the floor. The shine you keep is credibility. That shine doesn't wash off. When the moment is charged, stakes high, eyes on you, intention carries courage to your mouth. You can say, I'm going to slow down because I want this to be clear. You can say, this will disappoint some of us, but it will protect the work. You can say, I'm here to repair, not to win. These sentences don't weaken you. They license everyone else's honesty. They allow the room to feel what it already feels without pretending otherwise. Pretending is the tax that makes good work expensive. Intention refuses the false binary of soft or hard. It can be both. Soft on the person, hard on the problem, is an intentional stance. I respect you, and I'm not negotiating with the deadline. Gravity. I care about our relationship, and I won't accept a scope that guarantees burnout. Without intention, these lines sound like slogans. With it, they become coordinates. People can find you on that map. They might not agree, but they won't be lost. In sales, intention stops you from chasing a yes that will turn into a slow no after the contract is signed. If your aim is fit, not conquest, you ask, where will this break first? And mean it. You invite their skepticism before it ambushes you. You leave with either a truer yes or a clean no, and dignity intact on both sides. Deals made by pressure birth support tickets. Deals made by intention birth partnerships. Your calendar can tell which you're living by. In leadership, intention teaches your calendar to reflect your claim. If you say people matter, your schedule must have room for them when it's inconvenient. If you say focus matters, your week must have fences around deep work that no ping can breach. If you say learning matters, your debriefs must search for causes, not culprits. People listen to the minutes of your day louder than to the paragraphs of your strategy. Intention is audible in how you spend time and who gets oxygen. In love, intention turns closeness from hunger into hospitality. I want to know you is different from I need you to fix my loneliness. The first invites, the second consumes. You can feel the difference in your texting, in how you share news, in how you hold silence. With intention, you give affection without bribery and set boundaries without theater. You admit your needs without turning them into demands. You let desire root in freedom, not fear. Attraction grows taller in that soil. Intention also belongs to endings. Without it, endings get messy. Ghosting, blaming, performances to avoid the clean pain of goodbye. With intention, you make an ending that respects what was true. You say, I'm grateful for this season. I'm choosing a different path now. You return the keys. You return the narrative. You don't salt the earth to justify leaving. The way you end is a signature. People will trust your beginnings more if your endings are honest. A quiet warning, intentions drift. Power, fatigue, and applause will try to bend them. Success will tempt you to replace purpose with pattern. Do what worked last time instead of serve what's here now. When you catch drift, don't self-indict, realign. Ask the simple questions. What am I actually here to do? Who benefits if I do it well? What would I say if I weren't afraid? Then adjust your stance until your words and your weight match again. Integrity is not a trophy. It's a posture you return to. You can train this. Begin every important interaction with a single line intention, written or whispered. Tape it beside your camera. Scribble it on your pad. Be useful. Make it simpler. Protect the team. Listen until I can paraphrase their fear. Throughout the conversation, let that line choose your next move. You'll say fewer sentences and more sentences that matter. You'll ask better questions because you'll know what they're for. You'll leave less residue, fewer apologies, fewer clarifications, fewer nights replaying what you wish you hadn't said. Let intention shape your questions. Pressure asks, do you agree? Intention asks, what would make this true enough? To try? Pressure asks, can you commit? Intention asks, what do you need to commit with confidence? Pressure asks, why didn't you? Intention asks, what got in the way and how do we remove it? When you ask like this, you're not lowering standards, you're removing friction that disguises itself as failure. People don't resist clarity, they resist humiliation and traps. Let intention also govern your reveals. You do not share for shock or sympathy mining. You share to connect what is useful to connect. The right amount, at the right time, for the right reason. Here's where I struggled and what helped. Not a confessional torrent, not a curated hero's journey, just enough humanity to unlock someone else's courage. When you share this way, the room stands up a little straighter. They are not audience. They are participants. That is the whole point. What does it feel like to be on the receiving end of a person aligned with their intention? Grounded, easier to think, safer to disagree, clarity without cruelty, warmth without bribery. You might not like every outcome, but you rarely leave confused about where you stand. That clarity is a kindness people remember. They plan around it. They rest in it. Your presence becomes a place where good work can occur on purpose instead of by accident. You will fail at this sometimes. You will hear yourself chase. You will recognize that the laugh you offered was a bid for approval, not a bridge. You will notice a promise sprinting ahead of your ability to keep it. Catch it kindly. Say out loud, "Let me reset my aim." The room learns from that sentence that you care more about truth than performance. Your influence grows right there, not because you were flawless, but because you were faithful to the thing you said you value. Keep the mantra simple, direction without force. Let the room feel that you know where you're going and that you don't need to drag anyone to get there. When people choose to follow that kind of direction, their yes belongs to them. Yeses that belong to people endure. They survive the first bump, the first delay, the first temptation to revert. They turn into momentum you don't have to carry, alone. So bring your intention to the door before you bring your pitch. Let it travel in your shoulders, your timing, your questions. Let it clean your language and steady your gaze. Let it be specific, humane, and adjustable. Then walk into the room with the quiet confidence of someone whose purpose fits inside a single honest line. Speak less, mean more. Invite, don't corner. And when the moment lands, let the work move because it wants to, not because you pushed until it did. Elegance, power by subtraction. Elegance is not decoration. It is discipline. It is the courage to remove everything that does not carry weight so what remains can finally be seen. We talk about elegance as if it were a matter of taste, fabric, and fonts, a certain haircut, the right shade of restraint. But real elegance is an ethic. It asks a blunt question of every gesture, sentence, meeting, promise, outfit, slide, text. Does this serve the moment or just my anxiety? The more honestly you answer, the more your life acquires edges that hold. People call that style. Inside it, you'll recognize something simpler: room to breathe. Elegance begins where compulsion ends. You know compulsion by its speed, words. Tumbling to fill space, hands rehearsing nervous rituals, inbox replies that prove you're alive rather than move anything forward. Elegance moves slower because it has nothing to hide. It makes one choice, then trusts it long enough to let the choice work. It says one line cleanly and lets silence complete the paragraph. It lets a raised eyebrow do what a lecture never could. Not because it's aloof, but because it respects attention like a rare material, easy to squander, expensive to replace. The first act of elegance is subtraction. You remove one habit that drags you out of presence, the pen clicking, the throat clearing, the just to be clear preambles that smother clarity. You remove one sentence from every email and give the first one the job of telling the truth. You remove one meeting this week and replace it with a decision. You remove one apology you don't owe and replace it with a precise boundary. You remove one possession you keep out of guilt and discover the flaw again. Each subtraction is a vote for signal over noise. Enough of those votes and your days feel different. So do the rooms you enter. Elegance is not minimalism for its own sake. Bare rooms can be as anxious as cluttered ones if emptiness is used to perform taste. Elegance is fitness to purpose. A workshop full of tools can be elegant if every tool has a reason to be close to hand. A page dense with argument can be elegant if every line pulls its weight and none of them beg for applause. A conversation can be elegant even when it holds. Grief if every word arrives to carry, not to perform. What you're pruning is not life. You're pruning the theater that keeps you from living it. Watch what happens to your voice when you choose elegance. The edges soften where they should and sharpen where they must. Explanations shrink, meaning grows. The temptation to decorate honesty with flattery fades. You say, "Here's the trade-off," and trust adults with reality. You say, "I don't know yet," and trust yourself to learn in public. You say no without a weather system of excuses, and your yes acquires weight. People begin to treat your words like fixtures rather than props. The room stops bracing for backpedals because you stopped sprinting past what is true. Elegance changes the way you prepare. Instead of building a slide for every thought, you practice the 2 sentences you'd still say if the power went out. Instead of printing a script, you'll abandon at the first unexpected question. You rehearse how to breathe and how to return. Your notes shrink as your confidence expands. Not the confidence that you'll be perfect, but the confidence that you'll be honest in whatever emerges. You carry fewer note cards and more attention. You measure a talk not by applause volume, but by how much thinking you can feel returning to people's faces. In craft, elegance is the line you don't redraw for the thrill of it. The guitar lick with no extra notes, the paragraph without the clever sentence that would only prove you're clever. The feature you remove so the product finally has a soul. Every field knows this: fashion, code, cuisine, architecture. The tastiest dishes are often the ones that refuse to be busy. The most robust systems are the ones with fewer points of failure. The homes that calm you have a logic you can feel. Elegance is the discipline of refusing to buy attention with ornamentation. It earns attention with coherence. Elegance also belongs in how you keep time. You can schedule yourself into noise, 10 tiny blocks that make you feel productive and leave you nowhere to think. Or you can choose 3 large shores each week where deeper work can land. Elegance says, put decisions close to where information lives. Put the people who need each other in the same hour, not in 8 asynchronous threads that exhaust goodwill. End 5 minutes early as a gift to the next thing. Build buffers where life can happen without turning your day brittle. Your calendar isn't a museum for meetings, it's a studio for making. Treat it like one and watch your results take on clean lines. In relationships, elegance is the kindness of clarity. You stop qualifying affection with disclaimers that make both of you smaller. I love you doesn't need an apologetic hedge. I can't tonight doesn't need a paragraph of self-defense. The simple thank you has more temperature than a bouquet of dramatics because it's not bargaining for a response. When conflict comes, elegance removes the costumes. Here's how that landed for me. Here's what I need to make this right. Fewer words, warmer words, closer to the bone. The repair can begin because the performance ended. Digital life is where elegance often goes to die. The feed rewards abundance without discernment. More clips, more captions, more outrage cut into confetti. Elegance can still survive there if you let it choose your tempo. You post when you have a reason. You respond in batches. You leave entire conversations alone because they are invitations to nowhere. You write messages that a tired person can read once and act on. You never perform transparency to harvest sympathy. You share the right amount for the right purpose at the right time. The result isn't sterile, it's trustworthy. Elegance has a face. It is the person who arrives on time with their attention intact, who speaks softly and is somehow heard, who listens without collapsing, whose laughter is real but not for sale, whose boundaries are clear without being a spectacle, whose taste shows up in how they choose, not in how they judge. You feel larger near them because they aren't using you as a mirror. Their restraint is not coldness, it's respect for you, for the work, for their own center. If you're worried that elegance will make you less expressive, look again. Elegance doesn't mute feeling, it concentrates it. A single unforced tear carries more truth than a staged breakdown. One measured apology that names the harm and the repair changes more than a flood of self-loathing. A single sentence at the right time, I'm proud of you, that's not acceptable, I want this, can move a life because nothing in it is there to distract from the force of it. Elegance doesn't reduce color. It removes the mud that keeps colors from being seen. To practice, keep it small and repeatable. Before you speak, choose the sentence you'd keep if you could keep only one. Say it cleanly. Let it land. Before you send, cut one line that flatters you and one that distracts them. Before you dress, remove one item that argues with the rest. Before you plan, erase one habit that exists to soothe your fear rather than serve your aim. Before you end a conversation, leave one breath of grace, something generous and specific the other person can take with them. These are not tricks. They are little doors back to coherence. Elegance also has a shadow, perfectionism in a tuxedo. Be careful. If you start withholding to avoid being seen imperfectly, you've left elegance for fear dressed as taste. If you start policing other people's style to prove yours, you've left elegance for control, dressed as discernment. Elegance leaves room for mess while refusing to worship it. It makes space for humanity and edits the performance that tries to replace it. You can be elegant and warm, elegant and exuberant, elegant and loud when the song needs loud. The constant is not quiet. The constant is care. Sometimes the most elegant move is to stop. End the meeting when the goal is achieved, even if the clock says there's time to fill. Ship the version that solves the problem, not the version that soothes your vanity. Walk away from arguments that are really auditions. Rest when the work turns from craft into noise. Let your day have endings, let your sentences have periods, let your life have rooms that don't explain themselves to anyone. A boundary can be a work of art. Pay attention to who flourishes when you live this way. The people who needed your chaos to hide their own will drift. The people who value clarity will lean closer. Your reputation will shift from always available to always reliable. You'll be invited earlier to the hard conversations because your presence doesn't multiply confusion. You'll notice your own mind is sharper because it's no longer dragging 6 stories behind it. Even your pleasures become brighter because you're not binging to recover from the performance of being you. A simple walk will taste like a meal again. A quiet evening will feel designed rather than leftover. If you need a line to carry into tomorrow, let it be this: remove until truth appears. Remove fretwork until the beam is visible. Remove hurry until meaning can keep up. Remove apology until responsibility can stand. Remove theatre until kindness has a voice. What remains is not austere, it's alive. It looks a lot like you when you stop arranging yourself and start arriving. Elegance is power by subtraction. It is the difference between a life that shouts and a life that rings. Keep subtracting until your yes sounds like itself, until your work is legible at a glance, until the rooms you exit feel lighter, because you didn't take anything from them you didn't bring. Then keep subtracting a little more, not to vanish, but to reveal. Underneath the noise is the shape you've been trying to live into. Step into it. Let it fit. Let it do what decoration never could make you unmistakable without saying a word. Listening that changes minds. Most listening is costume, polite stillness while we load the next thing we plan to say. Real listening is different. It rearranges the room. It lowers the static in someone else's nervous system until their truest. Thoughts can step forward without armor. It does not seduce with agreement or dominate with rebuttal. It makes thinking safer. And when thinking is safe, minds change, not by force, but by discovery. Begin with posture, not technique. Put your weight in your feet or in the chair, and let your shoulders arrive a fraction later than your pride. Pride likes to lean forward. Presence sits back just enough to give the other person a horizon. Widen your gaze until you can see the edges of their expression as well as the center of it. You're signaling with your entire body. No ambush here, take your time. The body will believe signals faster than promises. Then let the first job of listening be mapping, not judging. Picture their words as a landscape you are drawing while you walk. What matters to them, where the cliffs are, where they keep circling. Ask yourself quietly, what problem are they solving for? Often it isn't the one named on the slide. It's safety, it's recognition. It's not being made to pay twice, once for the mistake and again for the shame of it. When you map first, you resist the cheap speed of solutions that fix the wrong pain. You can test whether you're mapping or performing with one move. Paraphrase before you propose. Not the courtroom summary that proves you caught them in a contradiction, but the kind that returns their thought in language they would keep. Here's what I think I'm hearing. X matters because Y and what you're worried about is Z. Did I miss a corner? If they relax, you're close. If they correct you, thank them and redraw. You are not losing time. You are buying trust. Trust saves hours you would have spent arguing with a misunderstanding. There is a caliber of listening that grants people the relief of being steel-manned, where you present their strongest point even more clearly than they did. If I put your case at its best, it sounds like this. This isn't flattery. It is intellectual hospitality. It proves you are not building a straw man to burn for rhetoric's warmth. When people feel steel-manned, they stop hoarding arguments. They start offering nuance. That nuance is the doorway to shared ground. Ask short, honest questions that move the work. What would make this true enough to try? If we waited 2 weeks, what new information would we have? What would a win look like for you that would also be a win for the team? Where does this break first? These questions are not cross-examination. They are invitations to clarity. You'll know you're on the right track when your questions get shorter and the answers get longer. Let silence do a share of the labor. Many people find their best sentences on the other side of a pause they weren't given as children. If you rush to fill it, you teach them that their thinking has to sprint too. 2 seconds is often enough for truth to catch up. 3. If the room is ashamed, silence is not a trap, it's a porch light. Keep it warm. Listening that changes minds also changes your own. You must be willing for new information to revise you. If you can't imagine a world in which you're partly wrong, you're not listening, you're campaigning. Try this sentence in your pocket. The part I might be missing is, not as theatre, but as an actual search. You will feel your certainty soften just enough to let light through. Certainty that can breathe is more persuasive than certainty that hammers. In conflict, listening is the quickest way out of the maze. Replace "why did you," which drags people into defense, with "what happened on your side." Replace "you always" with "when X happened, here's how it landed here." Mirror their keywords rather than swapping in your editorial. People calm when they hear themselves returned without distortion. Only then ask for the next brick. What would repair look like that we could both live with? You are not giving up your standards. You're giving up the theatrics that keep standards from being met. In leadership, listening is operational, not ornamental. You do skip level 1.1s not to be seen listening, but to find the dumb frictions everyone works around. You ask frontline operators, "If I removed one recurring headache this week, what should it be?" And then you report back next week with what you tried. You hold a 10-minute listening window after big decisions for obvious pitfalls we missed. And you actually reroute when someone surfaces one you can't refute. People start to believe feedback isn't a donation. It's an input. That belief changes velocity more than any slogan. In sales, listening turns persuasion from a chase into a fit test. You stop reciting features and start tracing the customer's constraint map. If this fails, what will have failed first? If this succeeds, what becomes newly possible? You name misfit early. We're strong here and weak there. If there matters more, we might not be your partner. Clean misfit is expensive courage and cheap credibility. The no you earn by listening well becomes the yes that returns a quarter later with your name already inside it. In love, listening is how desire matures. It hears the difference between fix me and see me, between agree with me and stand with me while I wrestle. It doesn't weaponize past disclosures as ammunition in a present fight. It doesn't write the other person's motives for them. It uses the smallest possible label or none. It asks, "Do you want comfort or solutions right now?" and believes the answer. Lovers who listen this way argue less about what happened and more about what it meant. Meaning is where intimacy lives. Listening is not limitless, boundaries make it cleaner. When a conversation becomes a loop that injures more than it clarifies, you can say, "I want to keep understanding you and I need a break so we don't start harming each other. Can we pick this up at 4? When a meeting turns into a confessional that a therapist should hold, you can say, "I care and I'm not the best container for this. Let me help you find one." This is not abandonment. It is the decency of giving a problem to the room that can carry it without breaking. Tools help as long as they stay servants, not masters. Try the checklist of 3 before you respond. 1. Did I map? 2. Did I paraphrase? 3. Did I ask one clean question? Or the loop once rule. They speak, you mirror, they refine, you mirror once more. Only then do you propose. Or the 2 truths and 1 permission. Reflect 2 things that make sense in their frame, then ask permission to add a perspective. Two things you said that land for me are A and B. May I offer one angle that might complicate C? Consent culture belongs in ideas too. Notice the small violences that pretend to be listening, the nod that means hurry up, the that corrals them back to your agenda, the transition that begins right but which translates as I waited, now we can talk about the real person, me. Replace but with a period and a new sentence. I hear the risk. Here's why I still favor the move. The grammar of care matters. People can feel the difference between being managed and being met. There will be times when listening seems to cost you power, when a crisp command would be faster, when you could bulldoze your way to an outcome and nobody could stop you. Choose to listen anyway when the long game matters. You are building a culture, not a moment. Cultures remember who heard them when they were weak. They repay that memory with strength when you are tired. If you want a 1-minute ritual for listening, the way you've been speaking about presence, try this before your next conversation. Breathe, 4 in, 6 out, 3 rounds. Soften gaze to peripheral and silently set the intention, map before move. Open with one mapping question. What would a great outcome here look like for you? When they answer, paraphrase using their verbs. Ask one clarifying question no longer than a tweet. Only then decide whether advice, empathy, or action is the right next gift. Advice offered too early is a form of self-soothing. Empathy offered too late is a form of neglect. Timing is the kindness. Listening this way will change your reputation. People will bring you early drafts instead of polished fictions. They will risk unpretty truths because you have shown you won't turn them into trophies. Your meetings will get shorter not because you talked more efficiently, but because the room stopped rehearsing and started telling the truth. Your no will be taken with less ceremony because your yes has never been a trick. Influence will feel less like hauling and more like harvesting, and yes, you will still fail. You will interrupt. You will jump to the fix because it makes your anxiety quiet for 5 seconds. You will listen to win, catch it quickly, say, let me try that again, and return to mapping. Repair is the secret heartbeat of listening. When people see you repair in real time, they learn that presence is not perfection. It is the willingness to come back. What remains after all of this is simple. Listening is the courage to let reality finish its sentence in your presence. It is a way of refusing the loneliness of being right alone. It is a way of turning conversations into places where better futures are designed, not declared. Do it long enough and the rooms you're in will think better, decide cleaner, love truer. Do it today, and one person near you will breathe easier because you didn't make them hurry to deserve your attention. Let that be your craft, to be the kind of listener who makes intelligence contagious, to receive words in a way that lets new words be born, to hold enough quiet that trust can hear itself. Minds will change, yours sometimes first. Repair without humiliation. Repair is not the art of being right after the fact. It is the courage to keep dignity intact while telling the truth about harm. Most people avoid repair because they imagine it as a courtroom where one person wins and the other is ruined. So they stall, spin, or flood the zone with explanations that bruise what they're trying to save. Real repair rejects the theater. It deals in simple ingredients: ownership, curiosity, proportion, and a future worth returning to, served without humiliation. Begin with proportion. Not every bruise is a broken bone. When you treat small frictions like scandals, you exhaust trust with spectacle. When you treat real injuries like smudges, you teach people that honesty is dangerous. Repair starts by naming the size of the thing you're holding. I made a call that cost us 2 days. I spoke sharply and shut you down in front of the team. I missed the deadline and didn't warn you. Clean nouns, clean verbs, no varnish, inflate nothing, minimize nothing. Dignity enters the room when reality does. Ownership is the first oxygen. Say what you did without the smog of reasons that make your apology about you. Reasons may exist. They rarely help at the start. I interrupted and talked over you. Period. Let the sentence stand like a chair someone can sit on. The moment you add because, you invite a debate about your motives instead of a relief about the impact. If context will be useful later, you can offer it later. Beginning with ownership says, I'm strong enough to carry the weight that is mine. Humiliation loves an audience. Repair loves a doorway. If harm happened in public, repair as publicly as it takes to clear the air, and then finish most of the work in a private space where defensiveness can unclench. If harm happened, in private, keep it private. Don't perform contrition to harvest credit. People can smell apologies delivered to the gallery. They feel like marketing. You're not rebranding, you're repairing. The body matters here. Shame wants to rush. It hurls words to outrun the silence where accountability lives. Slow down. Let your breath arrive before your explanation does. Look at the person you harmed in a way that says, I can stand here without collapsing or attacking. End your sentences where the meaning ends. You are modeling safety. I will not disappear and I will not make you pay for my discomfort. Safety is what lets the other person tell you the part you can't see. Curiosity is not cross-examination. Don't ask questions that force them to prove they were hurt correctly. Ask questions that help you understand the shape of what your action cost. What part stung the most? How did that land with you after the meeting? What would have made this easier? Listen for the inconvenient detail you wish weren't true. That detail is the hinge of the repair. If you defend against it, the hinge rusts. If you accept it, the door moves again. Language is a tool of mercy when you let it be simple. Trade, I'm sorry if you felt, which is not an apology, for I'm sorry I are. Trade, that wasn't my intention, which centers you, for that was the impact and I own it. Trade, let's just move on, for here's what I'll do differently so we can move forward. Reparations are more convincing than regrets. When you name a specific change, the other person can picture a future with you that doesn't repeat the past. Repair without humiliation means no trophies and no trials. You do not hold up your apology like a medal to be admired. You do not demand absolution on your timeline to quiet your guilt. You do not extract a matching apology to make the ledger feel balanced. You also do not turn accountability into a whipping post. You correct, you restore, you continue. The point is not to suffer publicly. The point is to make it safe to trust. You again. In teams, repair is operational. You change a process so the same failure has fewer doors to walk through. You shorten feedback loops so small missteps don't snowball into character indictments. You agree on phrases that signal a reset without drama. Let me try that again, cleanly. I want to repair what I just did. You normalize micro-repairs in real time so the culture doesn't hoard resentments for the quarterly blow-up. When repair is normal, excellence becomes cheaper. You spend less energy defending ego and more energy building the work. Power complicates repair. The higher your title, the colder the room gets when you harm someone. People will nod yes while their bodies say no. Your job is to lower the cost of telling you the truth. Invite it plainly. I stepped on you there. How did that land? Believe the answer when it is small and when it is sharp. Don't pay with self-flagellation. Pay with changed behavior that is visible and boringly consistent. The team will learn faster from your reliable restraint than from your dramatic remorse. In love, repair is intimacy's daily bread. You won't avoid hurting each other. You will decide whether hurt becomes a habit or a signal. The signal says, we stop, we name, we mend, we recommit. The habit says, we scorekeep, we generalize, we weaponize the archive. Choose signal. Don't litigate personality when a single moment needs attention. When you joked about me in front of your friends, I felt small. I hear you, I'm sorry I did that. Next time I'll check with you about what's fair game. Then keep the promise without announcing it. Intimacy grows in the quiet kept commitments that make the next joke safe again. Sometimes the repair is a boundary, not a braid. You can honor someone and still choose not to continue in the same configuration. I'm grateful for what we built, and I'm ending this in order to keep us from breaking it. Humiliation wants spectacle at endings, shaming exits, scorched earth, an audience for your pain. Repair wants clarity and respect. Return the keys, return the narrative, leave the door unbroken behind you. There will be times when you seek repair, and the other person won't meet you. You cannot control their calendar of forgiveness. You can only keep your side of the street honest. Make the amends you can. Protect them from further harm. Learn in public where appropriate and carry the tea. Lesson without turning it into a brand. Let quiet improvement be the proof. Trust returns the way dawn does. Slower than you want, faster than you fear, exactly on the schedule reality can handle. Make space for institutional repair too. Some harms are not solved by two people with big hearts. They are patterned policies, defaults, blind spots that punished one group while privileging another. If you lead, your apology must be accompanied by architecture. New guardrails, new access, new incentives that reward what you claim to value. If you don't lead, advocate for the architecture and refuse to be bought off by speeches. Systems can apologize. They do it with budgets and recurring meetings and rebalanced power. The smallest muscles build the biggest strength. Practice micro repairs daily. I cut you off. Finish your thought. I made an assumption. Let me check it. I promised Friday. I have Tuesday quality. Which would you prefer? These little restorations keep the floor from sagging. They teach everyone's nervous system that truth is survivable and that course correction is not a moral failure, but a shared craft. When you fail, and you will, repair the repair. I apologized and I still centered myself. I'm trying again. This meta-repair is not a loop to live in, it's a ladder out of the loop. You will feel the temptation to hide and come back when you can be perfect. Don't. Come back when you can be present. Perfection is brittle. Presence can learn. If you need a sentence to carry into the next hard conversation, try this. I want to leave us more ourselves than we were before this happened. Let it shape your pace, your tone, your choices. Let it stop you from offering knives when a bandage would do, and from offering silence when a stitch is required. Let it remind you that repair is not a performance of shame. It is a practice of care. The rooms you inhabit will change when you live this way. People will take risks sooner because the cost of being wrong isn't exile. Meetings will end cleaner because missteps are corrected on the spot instead of stored like debt. Your authority will deepen because it no longer depends on being spotless, it depends on being faithful. And you will carry yourself with a steadier kind of confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you can mend what you mar, protect what you prize, and keep love and work human even when they're hard. Repair without humiliation is not softness. It is strength that refuses to purchase order by breaking people. It is the discipline of truth told gently and promises kept plainly. It is the quiet architecture of trust, rebuilt brick by brick, until the doorway between us can bear weight. Again, walk through it together. Leave it stronger than you found it. Leadership signals what your presence teaches. When you say nothing, people don't learn you from your speeches. They learn you from your signals. The tiny, repeatable choices that tell the room what is safe, what matters, and how work should feel. Signals are the fingerprints of your leadership. They are not branding, they are behavior. And like all behavior, they instruct. Every calendar block, every first sentence, every way you begin and end a meeting tells the team what to copy. Copying is culture. Start with time. Time is the loudest signal you own. If you say focus matters and your calendar is a junk drawer, the team hears the truth. Reaction is the real religion. If you want depth, guard it in public. Put 3 immovable blocks on your week where you do the work only you can do. Name them plainly so the org can see the claim. Design review, deep focus, thinking next quarter narrative, 1.1 prep, write real feedback. End meetings 5 minutes early as a gift to transitions. Begin on the minute you promised. Leave when the purpose is complete. You're not being rigid, you're being readable. Readable leaders are easier to follow. Language is the second signal. Teach your mouth to carry clarity without cruelty. Adopt a simple triad for any update. Here's what we know. Here's what we don't. Here's what we're doing next. Repeat it until people start using it without you in the room. When a decision is thorny, name its type. Reversible, bias to speed, or hard to unwind, bias to caution. This stops drama from dressing up as rigor. When you are wrong, say, "I was wrong" in 4 syllables, then fix the thing. Apologies that tour your good intentions insult the room's intelligence. Ownership is a cleaner signal. Rituals make signals portable. Start meetings with a 30-second breath and a single intention. Today's aim is decide MVP cut. Put the aim at the top of the dock. Keep a running parking lot for valuable tangents and actually revisit it. Close with one true sentence and next steps with owners and dates. Then send a recap that a tired person can pass in one glance decision who when. When people trust the ritual, they bring more mind and less armor. Process becomes a kindness, not a kink. Protect learning by splitting ceremonies. Status is cheap. Learning is rare. Keep a short status pass where each owner has 60 seconds, no slides. Book a separate learning review where you ask 3 questions that never get old. What surprised us? What would we do again? What will we try differently next time? Praise by naming the behavior, not the person's myth. You cut scope in time to save quality, not you're a genius. Praise that points is a map others can follow. Your inbox is a classroom. Write subject lines that do work. Decision needed fry, vendor A versus B, FYI rollout dates, no. Action. Put the ask in the first line. If there is no ask, don't send it yet. Use names and verbs. Sam to draft one-pager by Wed. Rania to sanity check risks by Thu. Every clear email makes the next 10 shorter. Every sloppy one taxes the team's Sunday. Your tone matters too. Steady punctuation, fewer exclamation marks, warmth without syrup. People read mood into pixels, offer less weather. Signals live in what you won't tolerate. Cut meetings that perform progress. End the slide deck that adds gloss after the truth has already landed. Stop reply all confessionals that outsource accountability to theatrics. When someone rolls a grenade into the room, we always fail at QA. Ask for one concrete instance and one concrete fix. The rule is simple. Bring kind specifics or keep generalizations for your journal. Specifics repair, generalities rot. Teach the org to ship decisions, not just decks. Keep a lightweight decision log, date, summary, owner, rationale, reversibility, review date. It's not bureaucracy, it's memory. Memory lowers fear because people can see how choices got made and when they'll be revisited. Fear burns more hours than any feature ever will. Your walking pace is also a signal. Sprinting halls with a furrowed brow tells the building that panic is the path to proximity. Walk at human speed. Say good morning to the front desk by name. Ask the person nobody is performing for how their day is going and listen to the second sentence. Not because you're collecting loyalty points, because you're teaching attention. Attention trickles down. So does neglect. Office hours are a signal of access. Boundaries are a signal of sanity. Hold a predictable window where anyone can bring you a 2-minute pitch or a friction. Hold the line when the window closes. Not now preserves the quality of your yes. If you're always reachable, you teach people to interrupt their own judgment to find yours. Influence grows when you remove the dependence you accidentally created. Escalation has a tone. If people come to you only with fires, you may be rewarding arson. When someone escalates well, early with options, with the smallest ask that unlocks progress, call it out. This is the shape of a healthy escalation. When someone escalates theatrically, late, performative, blamey, coach in private, and refuse the show. Drama starves without audience. Name your red lines in daylight. We don't lie to customers. We don't burn weekends by default. We don't surprise each other in public. Then back those lines with boring consistency. The first time you violate your own rule, you rewrite the culture in one afternoon. If you must make an exception, name it as an exception, pay back the cost and explain the boundaries return. Consistency is slow charisma. Mentorship is a signal disguised as a calendar entry. Take one person each quarter and teach them how you think, not just what you decide. Bring them to the meeting where nothing is polished. Narrate your trade-offs out loud. I'm choosing X because Y, and I'm accepting risk Z. Give them a turn steering while the stakes are survivable. Then ask what you missed. Leaders who model I might be wrong train orgs that can correct course without a coup. Your hiring packets are signals. Job descriptions that ask for superheroes create liars. Write roles that privilege clarity over swagger. Outcomes, first quarter. Success measures, the 3 hard realities of the job. In interviews, be the person who listens more than you talk and asks the question that lets a human appear. Tell me about a time you changed your mind. What do you need from a manager when you're behind? You are not auditioning them for confidence. You are auditioning for honesty. Compensation and credit are loud. Thank people by naming their contribution in rooms that matter. Don't hoard wins. Share origin stories generously. If you need to keep the spotlight to feel safe, you're not leading, you're performing scarcity. Conversely, when the blast radius hits, step in front of it. Protect your team from shrapnel. Take the hard question. Say, I own this before anyone asks who to blame. Loyalty is built fastest when people don't have to spend courage to tell the truth. Write shorter policies that assume adulthood. 10 pages of thou shalt is a signal of distrust, not excellence. A 2-page guide that explains the principle, the trade-offs, and a few crisp examples travels further. Then enforce it without spectacle. The point of rules is to keep the work and the people intact, not to offer you a performance high from catching someone out. Make room for delight on purpose, not pizza party papering over burnout. Small, real rituals that feed the human animal that does the work. A 5-minute win bell in stand-up, a rotating teach me anything slot, a monthly demo where failures are welcome and laughed with, not at. Delight is not childish, it is maintenance. Rooms that only run on adrenaline break. Digital tempo is culture too. Don't message after hours and call it optional. It's not. Schedule send. Use channels for topics, not moods. If something is urgent, pick the medium that matches the urgency and the respect. Slack is not a fire alarm. A phone call is. Email is not a thought dump. Write it so a stranger could act on it. Ambiguity on screens multiplies. Kill it at the source. Let your wardrobe, space, and artifacts carry coherence. You don't need a uniform, but you do need a point of view. Clean, functional, kind to the senses. A tidy whiteboard says ideas belong here. A plant says life belongs here. A couch that isn't an afterthought says rest has a chair. None of this is vanity. It's instruction by environment. Environments teach faster than memos. Do not confuse signals with stunts. A surprise all hands with a flurry of adjectives is a sugar high. A quarter of kept promises is a meal. When you catch yourself inventing optics, ask what reality you're avoiding. Then fix the real thing. People can smell when you're dressing a wound instead of cleaning it. Trust is allergic to perfume. When you're tired, your signals fray. Plan for that. Decide your floor behaviors in advance. The few non-negotiables that hold even on bad days. Begin on time, state the aim, end with owners, dates, no public shaming, breathe before you answer. Floors save reputations. Peaks are nice, floors keep houses standing. If you need a compact set of signals to start tomorrow, try these. Time end 5 minutes early, 3 deep work blocks visible on your calendar. Language, no, don't know, doing next. Reversible or not. I was wrong, ritual. Aim, at top, breath at start. Decision owner, date at end. Recap by EOD boundaries. Schedule send after hours. Parking lot respected. Office hours held. Learning. Separate status from learning. 3 questions. Praise behaviors. Care. No public humiliation. Thank specifically. Protect weekends by default. Watch what happens. Meetings shrink. Emails sharpen. People lift their eyes. The nervous system of the org stops bracing for surprise and starts preparing for work. You'll feel your own shoulders come down because you are no longer dragging culture behind you. You are walking inside one you can trust. That trust did not arrive from a manifesto. It arrived from signals, quiet, repeated, human. Let that be the measure of your leadership. Not the volume of your vision deck, but the clarity of your days. Your team will forget half your words. They will remember how your calendar felt, how your emails landed, how your meetings began, how your endings respected their time, and how your presence made room for their best. Signals taught them. Signals will teach the next generation too. Be precise with them, be kind with them, and keep them boringly consistent until excellence feels like the default weather in your rooms. Digital tempo and attention hygiene. Your attention is a finite instrument in a world engineered to play it non-stop. The feed has a rhythm. It is not yours. Alerts have a tone. It is not kind. If you don't set a digital tempo on purpose, you inherit one designed to maximize time on screen, not truth in mind. Attention hygiene is not asceticism, it's craftsmanship. It's the daily discipline of choosing which pings become part of your pulse and which pass through without rearranging your nervous system. Begin with a simple premise. Every ding is a decision outsourced. If you let systems choose when you think, they will choose now every 30 seconds. Reclaim the metronome. Pick 2 or 3 attention windows a day when you check fast-moving channels, Slack, Teams DMs, and 2 mail windows for email. Outside those windows, everything is quiet by default. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough to do one thing at a time like it deserves to be done. Set your status so people know the next window. The first week will feel like withdrawal. The second will feel like altitude. Notifications are not weather. They are settings. Turn off badges. Kill lock screen previews. Let only true emergencies break through. Calendar alarms you chose. A VIP list you curated. A handful of people who protect your focus as fiercely as you protect theirs. Give work apps no sound. Keep the phone face down and at arm's length. During deep work, the message here isn't monk life, it's consent. Your tools may speak, you decide when you listen. Batching is the quiet miracle. Messages handled in clusters take less time and leave less residue than messages handled in micro sips all day. Create a triage funnel you can run on autopilot. Delete, delegate, defer, do, in that order. If a response takes under 2 minutes and belongs to you, do it now. If not, park it in a later action list with an owner and a date. Inbox 0 is not a number, it's a feeling. Nothing important is untracked. Track in the fewest places possible. 1 task list, 1 calendar, 1 team board. Many systems are an anxiety hobby. Write to spare future attention. Email, subject lines do work. Decision needed, wed vendor A versus B FYI. No action. Rollout dates. Lead with your one true sentence, then bullets, then the ask, then the deadline. Name owners with verbs. Lena to draft 1-pager by Thu. Kareem to risk check by Fry. If there's no ask, maybe there's no email. In chat, use threads for topics, not moods. Summarize decisions at the end of the thread so the next person doesn't read a novella to find 3 words. Asynchronous collaboration is a culture, not a hack. Decide as a team what lives in chat, fast, ephemeral, what lives in docs, slow, searchable, what lives in the tracker, work you'd want to remember. What must be a meeting? Complex, emotionally charged, or truly ambiguous. Keep a decision log. Date, owner, rationale, reversibility, revisit date. Memory is a gift to future you. Don't make them spelunk through GIFs to reconstruct why the company turned left. Protect maker time like it pays the rent, because it does. Block 90 120-minute deep work sessions 2 or 3 times a week, visible on your calendar. Label them deep focus, do not book. Put buffers before and after, so you don't land from a sprint into a symphony and expect to start on beat 2. If you lead, model this. A leader without deep work blocks trains an org of tab switchers who never ship the hard things. Your devices can be accomplices or allies. Make them boring on purpose. Turn your phone grayscale. Strip the home screen to 1 row of essentials. Bury the rest in a folder named Later. Move social apps off the first page. Remove their badges. On desktop, 1 browser profile for work, bookmarks, extensions, no personal logins. 1 for personal, 1 for focus. Reader mode, no extensions, no tabs carried from yesterday. Full screen your current app. Put everything else behind a single keystroke. Friction is a feature when it slows the wrong habit. Doom scrolling is a tempo problem disguised as curiosity. Curiosity has edges. Doom scrolling has none. Give yourself containers. 10 minutes after lunch with a timer. A single newsletter that curates with taste. A weekend long read ritual that feeds depth instead of drip. When the urge spikes at midnight, trade the feed for a page. Paper beats pixels when your mind is tired. Tired minds snack. Rested minds cook. Meetings are where attention hygiene goes to live or die. Keep a 1-line aim at the top of every agenda. Decide whether the call is status, can be async, decision, pre-reads required, decision maker named, or learning, surprises welcome. Begin with 30 seconds of breath and a recap of what changed since the doc was sent. End 5 minutes early with owners and dates. Parking lot is not a graveyard. Schedule the top 2 items or delete them. Elegance loves endings. Information. Diet matters. Follow fewer voices more carefully. Ask of every source, useful, true, kind to attention. Mute accounts that monetize your adrenaline. Replace ambient outrage with ambient expertise, a handful of writers who build your judgment rather than renting your amygdala. Your future arguments will be cleaner because they'll be sourced, not sourced from feelings. Ethics applies to attention. The way it applies to power, don't steal it. Don't send late-night pings and call them optional. Don't schedule 30-minute meetings that need 12. Don't forward anxiety without a proposed next step. Care is operational or it's theatre. If you must break the rule, a launch, an outage, name the exception, pay back the time and restore the boundary publicly. Consistency is the memory your team trusts. Play belongs here too. Lightness lowers threat and keeps cognitive bandwidth open. Use a short bad ideas first ritual to unstick a spec. Celebrate a crisp doc title. Ring a tiny bell for a small win, then return to clarity. The rhythm is familiar now. Lightness, truth, lightness, truth. Your nervous system learns that work can move without grinding. Beware the counterfeit of hygiene. Perfection. The goal isn't a museum-grade workflow, it's fewer leaks. You will still tab hop, you will still check a ping out of reflex. You will still fall into a rabbit hole and come back with nothing but new tunnels. Forgive fast. Reset. Faster. Map before move for listening. Batch before bounce for attention. These mantras are tiny steering wheels. If you share a home or team, make your tempo legible. Post office hours. Pin attention windows. Document your escalation ladder. How to reach you for urgent, important. How to reach you for important, not urgent. How to never reach you for neither. Put a line in your email signature. I check messages at 11 and 4 for urgent production issues, call, then keep your word. Reliability is a kindness to other people's Sundays. A few micro-rituals to install this week. The 2-window rule, chat at 11:30 and 4:30. Email at 10 and 3, everything else off. Subject lines that think. Decision, help, FYI prefixes. 1-sentence summary first. Decision log light date. Decision owner reversible. Revisit date deep work. Blocks 2 90-minute sessions on thu morning. Visible protected. Focus mode. Stack grayscale phone. No badges. Do not disturb. Plus VIP list. Face down rule during focus. Triage funnel. Delete. Delegate. Defer. Do. 2-minute rule. 1 task list only. Async norms, threads for topics, doc first for proposals, recap at end of thread, meeting only if ambiguity persists. Meeting hygiene, aim at top, breath at start, decision, owner, date at end, 5-minute early finish, information. Diet, 1 curated newsletter, 1 long read slot, week, news check once day with timer. Repair the slip. When you break your own rule, name it and reset. I pinged late, moving this to morning, no action tonight. You will feel your days change. Shape, the jitter quiets. Your writing gets stronger because it isn't competing with 10 simultaneous conversations. Your calls tighten because pre-reads actually get read. Your evenings grow taller because the day didn't leak into them through 100 open loops. And the rooms you lead start to inherit your rhythm, not because you lectured, but because you lived it where they could see. Digital tempo is how intention becomes calendar, how elegance becomes workflow, how boundaries become hours you can recognize, how playfulness survives corporate gravity, how ethics shows up in pings and policies instead of plaques. You are not at war with your tools, you are teaching them your beat. Choose a beat that lets meaning keep up with sound, trust keep up with speed, and a human life keep up with the work it's building. Then keep it, quietly, consistently, until attention feels less like a battlefield and more like a studio. where you can finally make something worth the silence it asked for. The ethics of influence, power that leaves dignity intact. Influence is not neutral. It changes what people notice, how they feel, and sometimes what they choose. That makes it precious and dangerous. The difference between leadership and manipulation is not the toolset, it's the terms. Two people can use the same pause, the same story, the same timing. One builds a bridge, the other sets a trap. Ethics is the quiet contract that keeps power honest. I will not buy your yes with pressure you'll regret. I will not hide the cost. I will not make you smaller to make my point feel big. Begin. With first principles, simple enough to carry into any room, truth before technique. If a tactic works only when facts are blurred, it doesn't work. It exploits consent at every layer. Real choice needs time, alternatives, and a clean exit. Dignity as a constraint. No result is worth a win that humiliates or coerces. Proportionality. The tool should match the stakes. Heavy tactics for light asks are a red flag. Reversibility. If the other person can't recover easily from a decision, you must slow down, disclose more, and invite third-party counsel auditability. If you'd be comfortable with your method on the record, your method can probably be defended. Ethics starts before the conversation, with intent. Ask yourself, who benefits if this goes well? Who bears the risk if it goes badly? If the answers are me now, them later, you need friction, more disclosure, more time, or a different ask. The body can feel misaligned intent. It leaks as pressure, as charm too hard, as the rush that tries to close the door before questions arrive. Lead with the question you'd least like to answer. Put the trade-off on the table first. Honesty early is cheaper than honesty late. Red lines, non-negotiables. No lies, no half-truths that behave like lies. Omission that prevents informed choice is not finesse. It's fraud dressed for dinner. No manufacturing scarcity or urgency. Deadlines should serve reality, not adrenaline. No leveraging dependency. If someone relies on you for income, status, or safety, you must add protection, not pressure. Extra time, a witness, alternative options that don't penalize refusal. No exploiting altered states. Grief, exhaustion, intoxication, acute fear, press pause. Influence that cannot wait is not safe. No surveillance tactics. Gathering hidden intel to outmaneuver rather than to understand corrodes trust even when it works. The ethical litmus. Use it in real time. Would I be proud if this were recorded? Can a reasonable adult say no here without social or financial penalty? Am I naming the cost as clearly as the benefit? Could the other person explain this decision tomorrow and still recognize themselves? If any answer wobbles, you have your next move. Slow down, expand options, or stop. The anatomy of an ethical ask frame. The purpose. Here's why this might serve both of us. Name the trade-offs: time, money, risk, opportunity cost. Without euphemism. Offer alternatives, including the option not to act. We can do A, try B later, or choose C, which is wait. State reversibility and exit conditions. If X happens by date Y, either of us can step back with Z cost cap. Invite questions you can't script. What am I underestimating? What would make this a no? Leave time. Even 5 minutes of quiet can turn pressure into choice. Contexts and complications work. Power gradients. If you manage someone, your praise and your frown both spend currency. When proposing a stretch, make refusal survivable. This is optional. A no won't. Change your evaluation. If you're a maybe, take 24 hours. Put the alternative in writing. Pay for extra load, time, money, visibility, or scope relief. Influence that asks others to carry a cost must contribute to the carrying. Sales, fit versus conquest. Ethical. Sales is a fit test. Start by steelmanning the misfit. Teams like yours have churned because of onboarding complexity. Does that risk exist here? Price honestly, no expiring discounts that resurrect monthly. If you must incentivize, align incentives with long-term outcomes, milestone-based credits, opt-out checkpoints, shared success metrics. The deal you can win only by rushing becomes a support ticket you'll never close. Love, autonomy as a baseline. Charm is not consent. If your partner's yes depends on fear of withdrawal, you are bargaining, not bonding. Choose questions. That increase freedom. Do you want comfort or solutions? Is now a good time? Hold space for a not now without punitive atmospheres. Vulnerability is a gift. Do not invoice for it later. Digital spaces, algorithmic pressure. If you publish, you influence more than your metrics show. Avoid clickbait urgency and outrage harvesting. Disclose affiliate ties, material interests, and what you edited out. Don't stage spontaneous moments. The internet remembers even when it forgives. Your future self is your most permanent follower. Crisis, speed with consent. Sometimes you must move now. Keep ethics by containing scope. Smallest necessary decision, shortest time horizon, clearest sunset clause. Debrief later with receipts. Crisis is not a hall pass. It's a loan you'll have to repay with transparency. The temptations and how to refuse them. The halo. Early wins breed overconfidence. Install a skeptic in your process, someone authorized to say, "Sell me the downside, the mask of good." "It's for their own good" is how control dresses up. Replace with, "It's for our shared goal, and I'll say the cost plainly." The vanity metric, applause can replace outcomes. Commit to one measure that resists theater. Retention, defect rate, net dollar retention, relapse rate, whatever. Tells truth. Review it on a cadence that outlives hype. The slip. You used pressure. Repair. I pushed. That's on me. Here are your options if you want to step back. Micro rituals that keep power. Honest first. The cost. When pitching, lead. With one real disadvantage. Watch how trust changes. The could we wait? Rule: in any big decision, one person can ask for a 24-hour pause. No justification required. Consent checks. Still good to keep going in tough conversations. Short version or deep dive in explanations. Third chair. For high stakes. Choices: invite a neutral who can paraphrase each side until both say, "Yes, that's me." Decision diary. Date. Decision. Who's helped? Who's harmed? Reversibility. Review date. Ethics loves daylight. Exit lanes. Write them before you start. How to stop, what it costs, who decides, how to part with dignity. Teaching ethics to your org without preaching. Stories, slogans. Collect short, specific tales where someone slowed down, named a cost or declined a shiny deal, and how it paid off later. Tell one in every all hands. Budget for no. Reserve time and money each quarter for the opportunities you refuse. Opportunity cost is a line item, not a ghost. Comp reward design. Pay for long-term value, not short-term capture. If your bonus baits pressure, your culture will bite. Shadow reviews. Twice a year, pick 3 decisions and audit the method, not just the outcome. Ask, would we be proud to teach this process? Whistle routes. Make it cheap to surface ethical friction anonymously if needed. Say thank you in public. Solve in private. Publish the fix. Self-deception. Safeguards power fogs mirrors. Build ways to see through it. Keep one friend who remembers who you were before the wins. Ask them to tell you when your stories get convenient. Keep one metric that can embarrass you. Into honesty. Keep one practice, journaling, a spiritual discipline, therapy, that doesn't care about your resume. Pride hates these, influence needs them. Repair when you cross the line, you will. Everyone does. The only unforgivable thing is pretending you didn't. Name it without perfume. I overstated certainty and used urgency that wasn't real. Offer agency. Here are your options to roll back. No penalty. Change the architecture. Adjust. Incentives, scripts, review gates. Tell the room not to dramatize, to disinfect. We fixed X so Y doesn't repeat. Trust grows a spine where candor lives. A field guide to ethical influence. Pocket version. Aim, direction without force. Method, truth before technique. Tempo, slow for irreversible, brisk for reversible. Boundary, consent must be possible at any point. Test, record ready, Dignity preserved, exit available, repair, own, offer options, alter system, report back. Influence deserves reverence. It reaches into the part of a person that decides who they are tomorrow. Treat that reach like sacred ground. If you cannot make your case without shrinking someone, your case is not ready. If you must hide the cost to win the moment, you will pay for the moment with the future. The good news is that ethics compounds. Each clean ask earns more permission. Each honest no invites better yeses. Each transparent trade-off makes the next trade-off faster, kinder, saner. Let your signature be this. People think more clearly, feel more free, and remain more themselves after your persuasion than before it. Your wins will be fewer in the short run and sturdier in the long run. Your rooms will be quieter and somehow more alive. And when you look back, you will not need to translate your career into a language you can live with. You will already be speaking it. Power that leaves dignity intact is not only ethical, it is durable. It builds the kind of world you would be proud to lead in and to be led by. Endings and beginnings. Leave clean, start clear. Endings are where our ethics are most visible. Beginnings are where our courage is easiest to pretend. Most people reverse the energy. They start loudly and end vaguely. Grand openings, messy exits. But a life that compounds trust does the opposite. It ends cleanly and begins clearly. A clean end preserves dignity and memory. A clear beginning aligns direction without force. Together they form a hinge strong enough to carry real weight. Endings ask for three things: honesty, proportion, and respect. Honesty names what is over without smog. Proportion keeps the goodbye sized to the thing. No eulogies for a Tuesday task, no shrug for a season that shaped you. Respect returns what isn't yours to keep. Access, credit, context, keys, literal or symbolic. When those three are present, endings don't rot into rumors or haunt your future rooms. They become part of the architecture that others trust. You to build. Begin by naming the ending to yourself in one unadorned line. This project is complete. This role is no longer a fit. This relationship has reached its edge. Say it out loud, even if only in an empty room. The body needs the clarity your calendar has been avoiding. If you can't speak the sentence, you're not ready to make the call. You're rehearsing avoidance. When you can, everything else gets simpler. The logistics are hard. The lying is harder. Then choose the container. Endings go better in the smallest room that can hold their truth. If harm was public, include a public piece. If the matter is intimate, keep it intimate. Do not recruit an audience to cushion your guilt. The timing matters too. If your exit will create shock, offer as much runway as the other side can realistically use without making yourself a hostage to their avoidance. A clean end respects both calendars, theirs for transition, yours for integrity. Say less and mean more. A good ending message has 4 parts: gratitude, truth, logistics, blessing. Gratitude. I learned X with you. Thank you. Be specific so it isn't sugar. Truth, I'm leaving because Y. Not a villain story. A reason you can live with tomorrow. Logistics. Here's the handover. Docs here, owners there, dates this. Blessing. I want this to go well without me. Here's what I think will help. No theatrics, no backdoors that invite late-night negotiations after you've said goodbye. Closure is a kindness. Work endings are operational acts. Return institutional memory better than you found it. Ship the map, not just your thanks. Links, decisions, and their rationale, traps to avoid. Introductions made with care. If you manage people, your responsibility includes shielding them from fallout. Clarify what changes and what does not. Affirm that their value is not a function of your presence, and leave the next leader a runway, not a labyrinth. Power that exits violently teaches the team to hoard information. Power that exits cleanly teaches stewardship. Relationship endings are covenants you conclude, not character trials you prosecute. Here is the truth I can stand by. I love who we were, and I cannot be who I want to be inside this shape. That sentence is not a courtroom. It's a door. Avoid autopsies that rewrite the past to make the present easier to swallow. Return. Keepsakes if keeping them keeps the other person tied to a story that has ended. Leave future contact rules that protect healing. No check-ins for 3 months. If we revisit, we'll decide then. Dignity is a tempo, and here the tempo fares slow. Not all endings are exits. Some are closures inside the same relationship or role. A pattern you won't repeat, a cadence you won't tolerate. Mark them with the same clarity. I won't do last-minute weekend work as a default. If it's a true emergency, name it, and we'll pay the time back. I won't joke about each other in public. If I slip, I'll repair it on the spot. Ending a harmful pattern is a beginning by another name. Beginnings, for their part, do their best work when they are small and specific. The temptation is spectacle. Kick-off decks that glow, vows that rhyme with destiny, OKRs that sound like a billboard. Real beginnings plant a stake where your feet can find it tomorrow morning. They answer 3 questions in one breath. Why this? Why now? What next? If you can't say those without looking at slides, you don't have a beginning. You have an aspiration. Start clear, not complete. A beginning should leave room for learning without leaving room for confusion. We will aim for X by Y for Z reason. In the first 2 weeks, we'll do A, B, C. Decision gates live here and here. Risks we already see are 1, 2. We'll review in week 3. If the shape is wrong, we'll redraw. This is direction without force. It respects reality's right to reply and names the cadence by which reality is allowed to edit you. In leadership, beginnings gain power from first rituals. The first 1.1 sets truth's price. The first team meeting sets tempo. The first policy sets whether adulthood is assumed or managed. Begin with the smallest version of the culture you want to live in. Start on the minute. Breathe once together. Name the aim, decide one thing, end 5 minutes early, send the recap. You don't need fireworks. You need trust that the next beginning will feel like this one. Repetition is how beginnings become home. Personal beginnings are most honest when they are behavior before identity. I'm a runner now is fragile. I run 20 minutes every other day is a beginning you can keep. I am organized is a story. I empty my task inbox at 4:30 is a move. Identity will arrive gently after enough moves align. Let it, for now, choose one small act you could keep on a bad day. Make the act the unit. Let pride come later. Every beginning should contain an exit lane and a review date. Write them down. If by May 15th we haven't seen X, we pause and reconsider. This isn't pessimism. It's respect for time. It protects you from sunk cost. Theatre and gives future. Your pre-written permission slip to stop. Ethical influence loves exit lanes. They keep consent alive after the confetti is swept. Across both endings and beginnings, transitions are where nervous systems wobble. Mark the crossing on purpose. A short walk after the goodbye call. A letter you never send but needed to write. A whiteboard cleared in silence. A new notebook for the new season. A dinner that names aloud what is changing. Ritual is technology for the human animal. It gives the mind a handle on the invisible. Scripts help while your courage finds its voice. Use them briefly. Retire them quickly. Ending work. I'm grateful for X. I'm leaving because Y. I'll hand over A, B, C by dates D, E, F. Here's who to lean on next. Wishing you momentum. Ending love. I respect you and us. I can't continue in this shape. I won't debate the past. I will honor it. For healing, I'm asking for no contact for period. I want good for you. Beginning, team. Y. X now Y, next A, B, C risks. 1, 2 decisions at weeks 2 and 4. We'll review and adjust candidly. Beginning self. For 30 days I'll do small behavior at time on days. Review on date. If it fails, I'll shrink the behavior, not the honesty. Common failures have common cures. Over-explaining endings. Cure. 1 true sentence. Plus logistics. Let silence do its work. Ghosting beginnings. Cure. Visible calendar blocks and the first kept promise. Sentimental hoarding. Cure. Return what you can. Digitize what you must. Bless the rest and let it go. Sunk cost loyalty. Cure. Write the exit clause before you begin. Read it aloud when you don't want to. Rebound starts. Cure. Leave a quiet gap. Speed is how grief hides. Pauses are how futures choose you. Ambiguous handovers. Cure. Owners, dates, decision log. 1. Call me if for edge cases. There is a gentleness available when you treat endings as gifts to the next person who will live in the room you're leaving. You label the drawers. You oil the door that squeaks. You plant a note. The afternoon light is best at 3. You can do this in code, in teams, in kitchens, in love. It costs minutes. It pays in a reputation for being someone rooms survive. And there is a bravery available when you treat beginnings as promises to the next version of you who will have to keep them. You make the promise small enough that they won't resent you for bravado. You give them the tools and the time. You don't shame them when they stumble. You edit the promise and continue. That's how identity changes without performance art. 1. Kept beginning at a time. If you lead, institutionalize this sanity. Require exit memos that include risk maps and known hacks. Celebrate clean endings publicly the way you celebrate launches. Start projects with a pre-mortem, how might this fail, and an agreed stop rule. Budget for endings as line. Items, offboarding time, knowledge capture, bridge staffing, so you don't pretend that closure is free. Make beginnings cheap to try and safe to end. Cultures that know how to stop are braver about starting. You will still fumble. You will overstay. You will under-explain. You will sprint into a beginning because being new feels like a drug. Catch yourself kindly. Repair where you can. Name the lesson without turning it into a legend. I left late. Here's what I'll do differently next time. I started too big. I'm shrinking to the version that fits. Mercy is part of mastery. In the end, endings and beginnings are the same craft performed at different doors. Both ask you to tell the truth sooner, to right-size your words to the moment, to choose dignity over drama, and to design your days so that your influence isn't purchased with other people's peace. When you practice them well, the rooms you leave stay livable, and the rooms you enter don't need you to shout. People will follow you not because you promise a world without endings, but because you've shown them how to walk through endings. Into a world worth beginning again. Leave clean, start clear, bless what was, build what's next.